edition of 580 Sports Talk coming your way. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He is Fulton Caster. Day 3 of our Sports Talk post mix and match episodes. So the two of us, one more day hanging out here with you. And we've got a boatload of audio coming your way, a boatload of interviews from Big 12 football media days down at Jerry World in Arlington. It was K-State Day down in Arlington today, which means we've got all things Wildcats coming up on 580 Sports Talk today, including in just a matter of moments, we're going to hear from Deuce Green, the stud inside linebacker for the Wildcats, about his final season of eligibility, about what he is expecting going into this senior season, about just everything going on with this K-State program. We're going to hear from one of the best Wildcats who, by the way, Chris Klieman during a media scrum today said, I guess media scrum is kind of redundant there at media day, but said today that if Green reaches his ceiling and plays to his potential, he's a first-team All-Big 12 kind of guy this year. And I 100% agree with Chris Klieman on that. So we'll hear from that player, Deuce Green, coming up here in just a matter of moments. Also this hour, we will play either or over-under, and we've got our weekly chat with Rick Peterson. We'll move to the high school ranks for a little bit. We'll talk some football with Pistol for our Invista Credit Union high school whip-around. Coming up later on, in terms of our interviews from Big 12 football media days, we've got another player interview for you. Kobe Savage, the first team preseason all Big 12 pick, one of the best defensive backs in the conference, if not the entire country. Kobe Savage is going to be on our airwaves coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We've also got the AD and the head coach, the two-head Wildcats. Gene Taylor, the athletic director for K-State, he will be on the air just after the top of the 4 o'clock hour today. Gene Taylor's great. I am very grateful.
Gene's awesome.
I know we all here are very grateful and gracious toward Gene for being so kind and gracious with his time, always making time for us, talking to us, and talking to you as well, K-State fans, Big 12 fans, about what's going on with the Kansas State Athletics Department. And really glad that he got to stop by and talk to Jake and Dan today down in Arlington. So we'll hear from Gene in the 4 o'clock hour as well. 5 o'clock hour, you heard part of this already today, but we're going to hear from Chris Klieman and his conversation with Jake and Dan. Are they going to do it again? What's this offseason been like after winning a conference championship and all the other fun stuff that the guys get to down at Media Days? We'll hear all about it from Chris Klieman coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. So all that coming your way today on 580 Sports Talk. We've also got What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines. One major headline today, or there's a handful of notable headlines, but one major one, Quinnen Williams. His deal is done. 4 years, $96 million for the defensive tackle for the New York Jets. New extension for him. $66 million guaranteed, I believe.
Correct. $66 million guaranteed.
Significant. Good for him. Very good player. That was the final outside force that the Chiefs were waiting on before getting a new deal done with Chris Jones. So I'm going to tell you right now, by the time we come back on Monday, I imagine Chris Jones is going to have the framework of a new contract wrapped up. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, but camp is just around the corner. We assumed this would be approximately the timeline. Jones knows what he's aiming for now. The Chiefs know what they're aiming for now. 4 years, $100 million, and $70 guaranteed. Boom, you're done. I've come up with the Chris Jones contract. Let's move on. Totally fine with that. But we're going to get to that and what is next for Chris Jones coming up in our headlines today. And, of course, we will get to all of your contributions as well. We would love for you to be a part of the show with us, either on the text line. You know the number, 785-272-9429, or on YouTube, where our channel is called Sports on 580 WIBW. You've been hearing me for the better part of a year now tell you about how easy it is to find us if you want to watch the video version of the show. The testimonials from our regular viewers of the show on YouTube. Hopefully that's enough to sway you to at least check out the YouTube, subscribe to us, see some of our other videos. Just head to youtube.com, search Sports on 580. That's all you have to do. Just search Sports on 580. We will be the first result. Our channel will be. You can subscribe to us there if you have a YouTube or Google account. Check out all of our old videos, old shows, draft content, high school athlete of the week, video interviews, and of course, today's live stream as well, where you can hop into the comment section and let us know whatever you're thinking about in terms of what we're thinking about on the show today. Without further ado then, Fulton, let's jump into our interviews today from Big 12 football media days in Arlington. Not quite as much fanfare, I think, on day 2, unless there's breaking news, because Brett Yormark speaks on day 1, and people leave a little bit earlier in the day on day 2 because things get started earlier. So there's a little less attention because it's not the opening of the event. Or if it was like a week long, it's not the closing of the event, right? But still, a lot of, I think, intriguing teams for the Big 12 this year, speaking today. And that includes the Kansas State Wildcats, the reigning Big 12 champions. And I think offensively, they're going to be quite good. I'm not even concerned about the passing game because even after how disparaging I was about Will Howard during his first 2 years of eligibility, I, at this point, fully trust that Will Howard is going to have a very good year at quarterback for K-State. He's going to be fine. The offensive line is going to be great. We know that. I think the running game with the pair of Ward and Giddens, I think, is going to be awesome. A little concerned about the wide receivers and tight end, too, because Ben Sinnott is a stud. Wide receivers, very new group, a little concerned there, but overall, the offense, I'm feeling good. Defensively is where I've got the biggest concerns. And I think that's fair, right? We've been over this before.
Of course.
You lose 2 top 50 draft picks. You lose 3 dudes in total to the draft. A lot of really talented players, and you've got to replace that. Now, you have a lot of talent coming back, but you've got to find a way to make up for it. And again, it's not necessarily how do you replace those corners you lost or the pass rush you lost. It's just what are you going to do to fill those spots? The timeshare of snaps on the field. How are those going to be filled by this new group? Well, I think the best way to break this all down is to hear from probably the best returning player on that defense, and that's Deuce Green. No, he's not covering guys on the boundary. No, he is not rushing off the edge like Felix Anudike-Uzomah was, but he is the so-called quarterback of the defense, right? And he is the most important piece because he's the best player on that defense, even with the ceiling of Khalid Duke, even with Brendan Mott continuing to improve, even with some of the talent on the back end of the deep. Kobe Savage is a stud, obviously. I think the young corners, there's a lot of intrigue with them. They're not all that young either. But Green is the focal point of that defense. And I'm excited to hear, and we're going to hear it just in a moment, what he has to say about his projections for this defense this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he has to say as the conductor of the defense, the guy in the middle, kind of trying to make sure everyone's in the right spot, making sure all the pieces are moving in the right direction and everything's flowing the way it's supposed to flow. That's an important role to have in a defense, and it's a role that sometimes does not always lend itself to the big statistical standpoints and, the big counting stats, but is one that, if done properly, makes you the most important player on your defense and puts you in that best spot to have you and your team succeed completely. The questions on the defensive side of the football for K-State are entirely ones of trying to compensate for all that lost talent. But if there's anything we learned of K-State over these years, especially under head coach Chris Klieman, is that this defense, while is play fundamentally sound, they're always ready to play, and that they should be able to compete pretty well. So going to be interested to see what Deuce had to say today.
So with that, let's hop in. Let's hear from Deuce Green at Big 12 Football Media Days with Jake and Dan.
We are back here at Big 12 Football Media Days here in Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium, as the K-State contingent here on day number 2 of the Big 12 Football Media Days. And we're going to talk with the linebacker, Daniel Green, joining us. And Daniel, the first thing I got for you, do you remember where you're sitting at right now? Goal line, Big 12 title game. It's this specific goal line. I don't know if you know that.
It is.
So did you recognize that right away? How many flashbacks came back here on that 3rd and goal, 4th and goal, and they ain't getting in the end zone? Take me through kind of what you're feeling right now.
I'm feeling like I want to be here in December again. I want to make this place our home. That it wasn't a one-time thing that we're going to come here in December. It's going to be a thing for the future, that it's going to be our house. Like, it's going to be something that K-State's going to be here a lot.
Coach Klieman said that you guys weren't too overwhelmed when it come to all of that. How big of a deal do you think that was for that game?
I think it was really a big deal when it comes down to, like, how close of a game it was. And if you think about that overtime, they were marching the ball. Like, it looked like it was in their favor. But it just showed you the character that we had on that defense to stay neutral when adversity was striking and things weren't going our way, and to get a stop like that. And before even that stop, Felix running down and tackling Dugan before he could score. And then I think Khalid Duke, the next play, stopping the running back, and then obviously the goal line stop. It just shows you that belief in each other, and everyone had a part in that, getting that stop. And yeah, it was just a special experience.
Alrighty, but before we get into all of that, we were told from a teammate of yours that you have a fun time with some dogs around your apartment. He wants to know why.
Is that Kobe?
Kobe's
funny, man.
He wants to know why you always yelling at the dogs.
First off, he's Cap. He be stealing my jokes. Man. He stealing all my jokes. But yeah, Kobe, he live by me. So I be running into him a lot. Ask him how I be seeing him by the trash can a lot, but he don't be dumping trash in there. So I don't know what he be doing over there. If he's grabbing snacks or whatever. But next time, ask him about that.
We can do that. We can do that.
Yeah.
When it comes to this year's team, you lose a lot of really stud guys. You know Felix Anudike-Uzomah, first-round pick. Julius Prince, second-round pick. Echo Boydo, been a long-term guy. He's in the NFL right now. Eli Huggins up front, so underrated in my opinion last year. Josh Hayes. Tell me, you guys returned some guys, though. So how do you go from one year to the next when you lose a lot of good players and you try to keep that, program going? What's the success? What's the secret?
I think it is the belief we have from the coaching staff, putting it in the hands of the players, making it a player-led team, and understanding that what we did last year was all from the preparation. That it wasn't just from, we had studs, it was because how we believed in each other, how we set out a goal, and the work ethic reflected our success, because at the end of the day, you can have as much talent as you want. If you're not putting in that work, it don't matter.
Coach Klieman talks a lot about it. You just mentioned it, player-led program.
Right.
So he says, I don't make any decisions. My players make the decisions. So to me, the hardest part about a player-led program is the best and the toughest part to get there is the players discipline the other players. Yeah. How do you guys do that? Because it means a lot more if the players are holding the other players accountable and not the coaching staff. That's the true definition of a player-led program. Are you able to get on your other players and they respect that? They're like, okay, yeah, and you don't need the coaches to do that. How do you, as one of the leaders of the defense, go about that?
I think first it starts off with trust, knowing that when you come here to K-State that everyone has your best interest. And we always say, leave your feelings at the door when you come in here to work, because at the end of the day, we all have a goal. And when you come in the complex to work, you can't come in here with your outside feelings or whatever, because it can affect the environment. So holding guys accountable is such a big thing, because we all want the best out of each other. And if I'm slacking, I expect someone like Kobe to be like, hey, you need to get right, and vice versa, because that's what makes you better. Like, I feel like you need that around you to be great. You need other individuals around you on like-minded, and it's going to push you to be great.
Daniel Green, linebacker for Kansas State University, our guest from Big 12 Football Media Days at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. The only number 22 on the roster right now. Does it feel good when you hear Deuce in the locker room? You don't have to wonder if it's you?
Nah, I would love if Deuce was still here, so I can't say that. But I'm so proud of him, man, Deuce. But, yeah, man, it used to be a lot of times they'd be like, hey, Deuce, they talking to other dudes, and I'm like, what? And vice versa for him. But, yeah, man, it's kind of different, honestly, not having Deuce around, That's somebody who's going to be truly missed, but we're so excited to see him play right here in this stadium on Sundays.
Absolutely. And the guys, Treshaun Ward is in from Florida State. DJ Giddens is back. You go up against those guys in practice. What kind of players are they? What kind of runners are we going to see on the field for Kansas State this year with those two?
All I can say is they're gonna cause problems for defenses, because Treshaun has a style that is very similar to Deuce. He can catch the ball at the backfield. He's very versatile. In open space, he's scary. You don't want to see that guy in open space. And DJ Giddens, we already got a taste of him. We got to see him come in behind Deuce, and he was a stud. And he was a young guy, so you're going to see a lot of DJ Giddens. And I think they complement each other very well, having a 1-2 punch like that are very different. But for a defense, game plan against that is very hard to game plan against two different styles of running backs. And it just helps our offense excel because if you can have two guys like that come in behind an offensive line that we have that's came back, it's very scary. And also a guy like Will Howard that's standing right there, stud.
What's it like to try to tackle that guy? That guy's a walking Coke machine, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to tell you, man, that offense is loaded, man. You don't want to see quarterbacks that big. You know, it's almost, I would say, harder to tackle a bigger quarterback like that than it is a running back because they usually fall forward. You know what I'm saying? If you're that big, and Will can run over 20 miles per hour, so he got some speed behind that, you know. So it just showed like that we got some guys on that side of the ball, and they're going to be problems for a lot of defenses.
I think people underrate your pass rush group significantly. I thought that was the case last year, and he had the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Felix Anudike-Uzomah up front. He's gone. That gives opportunities to other guys. I want to ask in particular about Khalid Duke because he's been around a while. You've been his teammate for a while. Breakout year for him coming?
All I can say is you're going to hear his name a lot. Duke is somebody who last year obviously had a different role, you know, had to back him up from the ball because we needed him to, you know, but when we put him close to the line of scrimmage, you saw what he could do against Texas Tech. We got to line him up down there and cut him loose, and that's where he want to be. And he's a stud. He's somebody who is going to be very helpful for us to get after the quarterbacks and other guys like Brendan Mott, Nate Matlack. That room is very talented, and they push each other. It's a very competitive room right now, and they all want to be great, and they're just only going to make us better.
Let me ask Kobe Savage this. I want to get your thoughts on this. Is a veteran defense, so a lot of vocal guys in the defensive huddle. Who is the most vocal guy? Who are the motor mouths on that line that on that defense that are just talking for 60 minutes of football?
Other than myself, I would say guys like Austin Moore.
Really?
You know,
Really?
Being a linebacker, I would say he's a very quiet guy outside of football. But when he's on that field, he's communicating. He's telling other guys what they're doing at corner, at safety. Hey, you're doing this. If they're not going to talk, he's going to make them talk. And that just showed, like, the leadership that we have on that defense, especially at linebacker. And I'll say guys like Kobe, obviously, is out there.
That does not shock anyone.
Chirping, you know what I'm saying? But,
so, okay, who are the O-linemen? Because O-linemen are so much fun. The O-linemen are the best. They're so close-knit, and they don't trash talk the way you trash talk. They trash talk way different, way more PG trash, like Disney trash talk is really what they do.
Yeah.
You're nodding your head, you're like, yeah, okay, he gets it. Yeah. So who are you talking with? Because O-linemen have fun with it, and they don't take it serious.
You know you talking about who I trash talk a lot with?
Yeah.
KT Levingston. Me and him, we was trash talking yesterday. But it's fun though, you know, like that's my brother too, so we could do stuff like that. But I just think that's what's part of football is fun, especially at practice, you know, when obviously we're competing right now, but we all on the same team when it comes down in the fall. We all need each other. But it makes it fun because I make a play against that guy, I'm trash talking. He gonna want to come get me next play, but iron sharpen iron. So it just makes everything more competitive, more fun, and that's what football is about.
Alrighty, gotta know. We try to help us out for other interviews here. So we got some information from you, obviously from your good friend Kobe Savage.
Yeah.
We have not talked yet to your good buddy Cooper Beebe.
Yep.
Alrighty, give us something. What do we need to know about your big man, one of the best offensive linemen in the country? What can we ask Cooper Beebe? What kind of info can we get from Cooper?
Man, let me try to think, man. You can ask Coop about, man, his favorite things to eat, because that boy be eating.
So does he put down the most food?
I don't know. I feel like that old line, I feel like KT's up there. I feel like KT probably for sure.
So he's a big eater.
He golfed too.
He golf?
He's a golfer.
Yeah, big guy can golf then.
Big guy.
Okay. Are you a golfer?
Yeah, I golf too. A lot of guys on our team, we're probably a golfing team now.
Really?
Like, we went
do
up against.
do you have a handicap? Like, do we know? Or are you?
I just got back into it. I took a year off.
Okay.
So I don't want to expose my, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, golf's tough, man. There's no defense in golf. That's why it's so frustrating.
It's tough. It's frustrating. I was frustrated. I got back out there for the first time like about a month ago. So I'm still getting back in the rhythm. A year or two ago, I was consistent and I was pretty good. right now, I'm more of a fisher right now, but I still get out there every now and then.
Yeah, golf. I always tell people golf is the most frustrating sport because in football you got an offense and they're doing stuff to make it hard on you. That little golf ball just sits there, man.
Right.
It doesn't do anything.
Right.
Oh, if I slice it into the trees, that's all on me, man. That's why golf. People don't understand that,
man.
Unless you're a golfer.
And them 18 holes is real long. If you're not getting going, it could be a long day.
Well, also, you got a couple new teams coming into Manhattan, all right? You know, it is UCF and Houston. They're coming in. Now you get to host them. All right, if I told you, all right, I need you to give the people in Houston and Central Florida a tour, what are you going to have them do in Manhattan? What are we doing here? Are you taking them? Where are you taking them to eat? What are you going to take them to do? If someone calls you up and says, hey, Dan, I need you to take us around, what are you doing?
Am I friendly to these guys, or you're saying like because they are?
You're being a good host.
You're being a good host.
You're putting Manhattan's best foot forward.
Yeah, yeah. You want to show them a good time, man.
Because you're going to be not hospitable to their teams.
Yeah,
like you're going to wreck them on Saturday, but on Friday you show them Manhattan.
Yeah, what are we doing?
I'll probably take them somewhere in Aggieville, maybe to like So Long, or the places people like to go is like Taco Lucha and stuff. Like that's more of an attraction place people like to go to. Maybe after that we can go by Veneer. You know what I'm saying? Go by the complex. Show them, you know, this is where we put the work in. This is how we become 2023 Big 12 champions right here in this building. And then probably take them to golf course. You know, probably go to either Stag or Walmigo, where a lot of guys we spend a lot of our time out there golfing. And maybe by Turtle Creek or something to go fishing, because a lot of guys we be out there fishing.
You fishing too?
Oh yeah, I fish a lot. We're going fishing tomorrow.
All right, whose boat?
We're actually going as a linebacker group tomorrow to a place in Milford.
Milford, yep.
Yep. I don't know the actual guy's name of his boat, but we're gonna have a few boats out there.
Nice.
We'll be trying to catch a lot of fish so we can fry up some fish.
Oh, nice. Little fish fry. All righty. Well, hey, see, that's what we need. That's a fun 2 days there.
Oh, yeah.
And then their team's going to take an L, and then they can go back home. So that works out all right.
Exactly.
Daniel, we appreciate the time, my friend. Best of luck this upcoming year for the Cats.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys.
That is Daniel Deuce Green, the stud linebacker for the Kansas State Wildcats, speaking earlier today with Jake Laban and Dan Lucero down in Arlington. Awesome stuff from Daniel Green. We'll talk a little bit more K-State coming up a little bit later on in the show. We're still going to hear from Chris Klieman, Gene Taylor, and from Kobe Savage. Right now, though, we have to get to our first commercial break. We'll come back after this, play a little either or over under, and we've got Rick Peterson coming up this hour on 580 Sports Talk. Time for some either or over under on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Fulton, your crew on this Thursday, July 13th. Happy Bastille Day tomorrow, by the way. We won't be on the show, so I won't get to wish you a happy Bastille Day. But
I didn't know you celebrated Bastille Day.
I absolutely do. The French Revolution took a lot of notes from our beloved American Revolution.
That is true. That is accurate.
Yeah, it's one of the more fascinating periods in American history. All right, either or over under. I've got an either or for you, Fulton. Dan and I have done various combinations of a question like this plenty of times this year. I'm going to give you two pairs of newcomer Big 12 cities. Which one would you rather do a visit to? You have to pick one of these pairs. You get Cincinnati and Orlando together, or you get Houston and Provo together.
That is a really excellent question. And trying to figure out which one, I think you can go either way for each one because Cincinnati and Orlando on kind of the, I guess they would count as the East Coast version of the trip, or at least the eastern side of the trip. I've been to Orlando many times. I implore all of you, go to Orlando. Orlando's fun. I don't know, it has a little bit of something for everyone, but Orlando is fun. Orlando is a good time. It's also north enough in Florida that it's not the abhorrently terrible temperatures. If you were to go on now, it still wouldn't be great because so much of the southern part of the U.S. is hotter than anything right now. But still, it's in a good enough spot that's fun, has a lot of good things to it. Never been to Cincinnati or the Ohio area. I've driven through Ohio, but never stopped there, so that would be new. So on that front, I have a level of I'd be totally cool with going there because it would give me a city I've been to in Cincinnati and a city I have been to before but do enjoy in Orlando. The other side is two places I've never been to in Provo and Houston. And I don't know how I want to feel about either city because Provo, I would say yes, because Utah is a beautiful state. I've never been to Utah. I have flown over Utah when I flew to Las Vegas, the one time I went to Vegas. Utah is a gorgeous state. So, I would go to Provo just for the look of Utah. The problem is, though, I'm in Utah. And not that I'm trying to disparage Utah, it's just a bit of a different place. And then Houston, I'm not the biggest fan of the state of Texas, and that goes beyond any other reason that other people might. Just I've been to Texas a lot. All of Texas seems the same. There's not a lot about the state that I thoroughly enjoy. I spent far too much time in the state of Texas in my life. I've been to Dallas a lot. I've been to other places in Texas a bunch. Houston's just one of the places I haven't been to as of yet. I think if I had to choose, I would lean to the Cincinnati-Orlando trip because even though that is the trip that includes going to a city I've been to before, and normally I'm a visit new city guy. Normally, I'm a very big, go to new city place. I at least know with the Cincinnati-Orlando trip, I'm going to enjoy going to Orlando, Florida. I am going to enjoy going to Orlando, Florida. The other three cities, I can't guarantee I'm going to enjoy the time. So I at least want to make sure half of it is a very, enjoyable trip, an enjoyable time, a level of, actually having a good time in a good place in some kind of an enjoyable part of the trip because of all things you can do in Orlando and all the different enjoyments you can have down in Florida and things like that. Plus, if we put this I would rather also put this in the context of college football. Of those four stadiums, Provo and BYU might be my second pick. The bounce house at UCF is my number one. Because if I'm able to schedule when I take these trips, I'm picking Orlando also for the bounce house. Because when your place is nicknamed the bounce house, it is an incredibly fun and entertaining and overall really good time. And so that's the other reason. I mean, because I'm Nippert and Cincinnati is whatever, and whatever Houston's calling their stadium nowadays. I don't know why anyone would really. I just don't know why anyone and I'm not trying to disparage Houston. It's just it's a really big city, but also it's an annoying city. I'm not trying to run. If anyone listening is from Houston, I'm not trying to disparage your beloved city or anything like that. It's just I don't get it. I'm not a very, big fan of the area. It is what it is. But I think because of my affinity for Orlando, that would easily have to be the pick that I would go with for which new Big 12 cities I'd want to go to. Just Cincinnati, Orlando, or if you mixed up any of the cities in Orlando, just let me go back to Orlando, and I will easily probably pick that every single time. We're going to take a timeout here on 580 Sports Talk, but remember, coming up later on in this hour, we're going to take a timeout, and Rick Peterson of TownSports.news is going to join us for the Invista Credit Union High School whip around. And then coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to hear from both Gene Taylor, the other head Wildcat, in addition to Chris Klieman. And we'll have today's What Is Wrong With You, but we also hear from Kobe Savage as well. And then, of course, Chris Klieman coming up in the 5 o'clock hour as well. But we'll take a time out. Rick Peterson's going to join us for High School Whip Around, Vista Credit Union High School Whip Around, coming up here on 580 Sports Talk, here on 580 WIBW. We welcome in our good friend, Rick Peterson, covers all the great goings-on of the high school sports in Shawnee County for TopSports.news. You can follow Pistol on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. This is our Invista Credit Union High School Whip Around as Pistol joins us in the Flame Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Pistol, how are you doing on this warm afternoon in Topeka?
Oh, I'm doing great.
All right, Pistol. Normally we begin somewhere else in the high school ranks, but I actually want to start in the college area to kick things off here. The OB draft was over this past week, and the Washburn Ichabods had a selection this year as right-handed pitcher Casey Stewart was drafted in the 19th round by the Philadelphia Phillies. He is the second Ichabod to be drafted under head coach Charlie Douglas. Just what kind of excitement does that bring to the program, and how cool of a moment was that for Casey Stewart to have his name called the MLB draft and get a chance to play baseball professionally with the Phillies?
Yeah, that's a native Kansan. Played at Wichita East before going to Washburn, and I think it's very good for Harley Douglas and his program. Obviously, there's a lot of pride in that, but hey, it shows that you don't have to go to a Power 5 program. You don't have to go D1. If you're good, the major league teams are going to find you. And that was just a good indication of that last week.
That is always just such a great story when the D2 kids get their opportunities, and just the smaller school kids in general get those opportunities to make professional careers out of themselves. Moving back into the high school ranks, Pistol, we have the Shrine Bowl coming up this weekend, one of the most fun events overall on the high school sports calendar coming up here in the summer. First things first, with all of it, are you going to make the trip out to Hayes for the Shrine Bowl this year?
Haven't decided yet. I got a pass, and I got a son out there, but the 3-hour or 6-hour round trip doesn't exactly excite me, especially if it's like 100-some degrees. We'll see. So that's still up in the air.
Pistol, I can't blame you for a second. Brendan, Dan, Jake, and Greg will be our contingent physically there, making the trip out to the Shrine Bowl. I have properly elected to stay back for the Shrine Bowl and not come through, but I don't blame you for not wanting to make that trip out there, especially with the heat as well. I'm sure Brendan's not looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, it's quite a trek to get out there, and I'll tell you what, Pistol, I know we're very excited to be there, but it's not the easiest drive in the world to commit a whole day to headed out west.
Well, I went over Sunday to the East Camp and got a whole bunch of stories in the bank. And in fact, I just posted my fourth story a while ago from there. So I figured, I certainly don't want to ignore them. And like I said, shoot, I'll make that decision probably Friday or tomorrow or so. And like I said, I could end up out there. So don't be surprised if you see me, Brendan, but don't be surprised if you don't.
All right. That's fair. No, it's even if I was surprised, Pistol, it's always a pleasant surprise when we get to see you out of a game. We're talking to Rick Peterson from TopSports.News. It's the Invista Credit Union High School whip around here on 580 Sports Talk. Head to TopSports.News to check out all of Pistol's great work covering our local teams. And of course, you can find him on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. And I wanted to ask you, Pistol, about some of those profiles you wrote for the local county and city players that made the Shrine Bowl rosters. And the first one, and it's, I believe, the most recent one that went up at TopSports.News, Ty Weber, the linebacker product from Washburn Rural, who is committed to go to Washburn for his college football. And I know you talked to him about that. He was a stud, Pistol. I know you got to see him a bunch while he was at Rural. He was just every single game, jump off the page, jump off the film when you'd watch him play. What do you make of his commitment to Washburn? Why did he pick it, and how successful do you think he'll be on Craig Schuerig's squad?
Well, first of all, when I went down to Shrine Camp on Sunday, that's the first player that coaches and camp director Jack Call were talking to me about. They reported on Saturday. By Sunday, they were already talking about Ty and what a impact he was making for the East defense. So as far as Washburn, he had Division Ones wanting to walk on and things like that. But I think he just felt, one, that he'd have a great chance to play at Washburn, and two, he felt comfortable, staying home and staying where his family could watch him every game, his friends could watch him every game. And I applaud him for that. As I think I put in my lead to that story, sometimes kids just really want to get out of town, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate him, kind of staying home to really continue his career at Washburn. And I think it'll work out great for both him and Craig Schuerig's Ichabod.
And I think, too, if you want to play high-level football, yeah, you could walk onto a D1 and see where it goes. But playing in the MIAA, Pistol, and you know this as well as anybody, that's about as big time for the Division II level as it can get. That's not small potatoes football. That's still a pretty darn big deal.
Well, and also, and we talked about Casey Stewart getting drafted. You know, the MIAA has proven that if you're one of the best players in the conference, you're going to get a chance to play professionally, whether it be in the NFL or like J.J. Letcher in the Canadian League.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, you don't have to go D1 to really help your chances after your college career is over.
I will say this. I'll phrase it this way. I'm as confident, Pistol, in Ty Weber being a stud in college as I have been any of our local players in recent years, going to Washburn or Emporia, Pitt, wherever it might be. I'm pretty darn certain he's going to be a stud. And he's not the only player from the city or from the county who's going to be involved in the Shrine Bowl. In fact, a lot of big players, some beef from our local team is going to be involved this year, Pistol. You throw in Ben Evans from Hayden, Gavin Zuperku from Shawnee Heights, and then Jacob Carver, the state champion from Rossville as well. That's a really talented trio of guys who will be lining up in the trenches coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, and, you know, Carver played on two state championship teams at Rossville. He was also a really, really good wrestler. Would have had a good chance of winning state this year if he hadn't hurt his shoulder and had to kind of fight through that. Ben Evans, you know, he kind of got overlooked maybe a little bit by recruiters anyway, because the guy next to him is going to Notre Dame. But you know, I think he'll be really good. He's going to go to Coffeyville Community College. And then Gavin Zuperku, he was fun to talk to. He was a replacement player, and he got the call about a little over a month ago. But this will be his last football game. He's going to study engineering at Kansas State. But he said it was a no-brainer to, you know, take this final chance to play one last time.
That's what I always love about this game, Pistol. And I understand that there are a lot of mitigating factors that go into things like this. You know, I know there's an all-star game in Kansas City for kids from the Metro. And I know that a lot of D1 schools, they're, you know, kind of hesitant to let guys participate in this because they want them to get to campus healthy. And, you know, some guys, they're not going to play college football at the next level, or they're just done with it. But getting guys the opportunity to have that one final game, I think is so valuable. And, you know, Jake LeBon, I'm sure you've heard him say this. I know I have a million times. He always says, I would have done anything to put on one of my uniforms one last time. It's a great opportunity, I think, for guys like Gavin or like countless other players in this game to get one last chance to do something that's so meaningful to them.
Oh yeah, and it's such a great cause, and it's such a you know, I mean, hey, you got to be whatever it is now, one of the top 35 or whatever it is to you know, from the eastern half of the state to get a chance to play. It's a rare opportunity. So why wouldn't you? You know, why wouldn't you go?
No, it's absolutely awesome. We're talking to Rick Peterson. He joins us from topsports.news and on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. It's the Invista Credit Union High School Whip around here on 580 Sports Talk with Pistol joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Make sure you're checking out topsports.news. Again, Pistol's got profiles on all four of our Shawnee County players in the Shrine Bowl up at the website right now. And of course, we're keeping our eyes as well, Pistol, on the best of the best project going on at topsports.news right now. You guys have been churning through the different sports, the different greatest teams of all time. And today, I was so excited when I saw it was next on the schedule. Football Day, the poll to go vote for the best football team or teams of all time in the city, in the county. That is up right now at topsports.news. And I know there's so many good programs and all kinds of sports that we've had in city history, Pistol, but I don't know how you begin to decide. And a lot of people have been here longer than me and know these teams and programs so much better than me. But I don't know how you decide between some of those undefeated teams from Silver Lake or those great Washburn rural teams under Coach Bowen or Rossville's recent dominance. Hayden's had multiple undefeated seasons, and I'm just scratching the surface there. I don't even know where to begin with some of this greatness in Topeka football history.
I don't know where to begin either, Brendan. That's going to be the challenge here in a couple of weeks. Yeah, and you know, but it'll be a fun challenge. I'm going to get together some of my cronies, if you will, and that have been around a long time, and we're going to sit down and try to do it. I don't expect everybody to agree, and to me, that's the fun part too. I mean, you know, you want to fight for your local team. They all can't be number one, but you know, you expect some people to agree and a lot of people not to agree. But that's a fun part of it too.
So I will ask you this then, Pistol, because you, I know, have the daunting task of putting these all together. And then as the kind of public face of this, you also get the complaints, hey, why'd you put this team over this team, or, what have you. But when you're trying to compare a more recent team to a team from, either the recent or distant past, like I would think of a recent team being, the second Rossville team that just won a state championship. They win 24 games in a row, I think it was. Back-to-back state championships. I mean, that team for Derek Thomas a couple of years ago that stomped Beloit in the championship game. Fulton and I were both there for that one. I mean, that was an incredible team. But how do you end up comparing them to, say, a Silver Lake team that went undefeated in 1989? Like, what do you personally do to try to compare and contrast teams that are in a new era versus some of these old era programs?
Well, and some sports are easier to do that than a football or a basketball. I guess you look at, obviously, margin of victory. You try to look at their strength of schedule, the teams they beat to stay undefeated. Like Washburn Rural in '89 under Ron Bowen, they had several really close games that they had to survive to win, go undefeated, and win the title. Whereas a team like Hayden in '98 did not have a single-digit game. Their closest game all year was 10 points. So it is. I mean, it's very tough. And it's not going to it's not going to be 100% correct. But I think with me, Brendan, if you make the top 10 or even mentioned on these lists, I think it speaks well for your program. So I'm just trying to give some really great programs and some really great schools some attention.
No, and I think that's absolutely the best way to do it. And I would agree with you, Pistol. Like, if you can put together hundreds of years worth of athletic programs and yours is in the top 10, you say, hey, why are we 7 instead of 6? I still feel like that's a pretty darn good achievement considering how many options there are for each of these sports. And outside of football, too, since we last spoke last Thursday, we've been through boys and girls basketball. We've had cross country, golf, bowling. What have been some of the highlights for you over the last week, Pistol, with some of these other sports? What have been some of the more fun trips down memory lane as you've gone through these recent lists?
Yeah. Okay. And this one's not even out yet, but I'm going to give you a little preview.
Okay.
This surprised me.
All right.
For boys golf, which will go out tomorrow, you immediately think of Washburn Rural having a powerhouse program.
Mm-hmm.
You think of Hayden having really good golf over the years. The team, and like I said, it surprised me. The team that's won the most boys state golf titles is Topeka High, although they haven't won one in 62 years. Their last state title was in 1961. Their first state title, and that's back when they just had two-man competition, was in 1929. So stuff like that, like I said, when I'm doing my due diligence and my research to try to see who belongs on the list of candidates and things like that, you can, even as long as I've been around, you can still really be surprised.
That's incredible. That is truly incredible. That sounds like I'm trying to make a comparison here, like talking about Michigan football from like the early days of college football, Pistol, where they would win games like 85-0 and give up no points all year. And like they're the winningest team in college football history, but they haven't like won anything significant in 3 decades. That's what that feels like to me. Like I never would have even thought about that. Well, that's incredible. Again, boys golf coming up tomorrow. That's correct, Pistol. That's coming out tomorrow.
Yes.
So be on the lookout for that over at topsports.news. Football is right on the top of the front page today, and plenty of other sports to go back and have your own trip down memory lane as well. That's part of the best project at topsports.news. That's where you'll find the work of Rick Peterson, the absolute best of the best when it comes to covering all of our local teams. Follow him on Twitter at Peterson_Rick, and of course, over at topsports.news. Pistol, we appreciate the time as always, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. We may or may not see you on Saturday, but one way or the other, we'll talk to you on the show next week.
You betcha. Look forward to it.
That is Rick Peterson from topsports.news. Absolutely fantastic stuff, as always, talking to Pistol about all of our local teams. And that brings us to our top of the hour break. As we head into the 4 o'clock hour, we'll hear from Gene Taylor and Kobe Savage from K-State. We've got What Is Wrong With You and more next hour on 580 Sports Talk.
time for hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk here on 580 WIBW. Fulton Caster here with you alongside Brendan Dorzinski. It is day 3 of Host Swap on 580 WIBW. It concludes today. This is hour number 2 of hour number 3 that we will have of Brendan and I together. As soon as this clock hits, Brendan and I will no longer be teammates this week. We'll still be teammates, just won't be showmates. As tomorrow we go back to our normal host pairings, mic'd up with Jake and myself. Will be noon to 3 tomorrow. And 580 Sports Talk with Brendan and Dan will be all back to normal from 3 to 6 coming up tomorrow. So you get to see me and Jake talk about random things. Occasionally, are you over the Royals? Jake will probably have a great story about Beaver Nuggets. Can confirm Jake Laban and Dan Lucero have stopped at a Buc-ee's down in Texas because about 15 minutes ago, Jake tweeted a picture of him being at Buc-ee's. It would also not surprise me if they are still there. Jake loves, I cannot explain to you. I will try and get him to go into this more tomorrow on Mic'd Up. Jake adores Buc-ee's and really enjoys being there. So it would not surprise me if they spent like half an hour just wandering around. And I can also almost guarantee there'll be like 3 bags of Beaver Nuggets on Jake's desk when he gets back late tonight and goes into work tomorrow morning. So that's a fun thing that's going to happen from Big 12 Media Days, which is why we have so much great content coming at you coming up this hour and next hour as well. Coming up this hour here in just a few minutes, we will hear from Gene Taylor. Jake and Dan did have a chance to chat with the other head Wildcat athletic director, Gene Taylor, down station. We'll also at the bottom of this hour hear from the standout all first team preseason Big 12 defensive back, Kobe Savage, who also is one of the best names in the Big 12 and Kobe Savage. He's first team as a player and first team all name team. We'll also have today's What Is Wrong With You as Brendan and I have 2 news stories for you to try to take down our new champion of the week, the meth Uber, the guy who was doing a meth deal and was supplying someone with 25 pounds of meth into New Hampshire, but decided the best way to do that was deliver it via an Uber. Still hilarious. And then the 5 o'clock hour, of course, have our 580 Sports Talk headlines, and we'll hear from Chris Klieman, Jake and Dan. We heard a little bit of that conversation earlier today on Mic'd Up. We will listen to what Chris Klieman, head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats, had to say about trying to repeat as Big 12 champions coming up this season. As always, you can join in on the conversation on the text line, 785-272-9429. You can also jump in the comment section of our YouTube live stream. Go to youtube.com. Sports on 580 is that YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't. We really would appreciate it. As Vance on our YouTube accounts did so eloquently put it earlier today's show, we're really close to 300, about 16 away from being at 300 subscribers. So already, we would really find it fun to hit 300, especially as we go into football season with training camp coming up beginning next week for the Kansas City Chiefs, late next week that they start reporting. We got high school football coming up. We got college football coming up. We're going to have a bunch of great content coming up in the fall here on the entire host of the Sports on 580 family. So subscribe. We would appreciate it. And if you do subscribe, you go to our YouTube channel, Sports on 580 WIBW. You can watch the live stream of the show right now, 580 Sports Talk with Brendan and myself. You can jump in the comment section on the YouTube live stream as well. But to kick off this hour of 580 Sports Talk, we are going to hear from Athletic Director Gene Taylor, somebody that all of us here on the Sports on 580 team really thoroughly enjoys. Just we're so appreciative. I guess that's the better word to use. We are so appreciative of Gene Taylor and just how responsive he is and just how much he, as us being media members, how much Gene Taylor helps take care of us, how much access he gives us to not just himself and how willing he is to jump on the air and chat with us and give his insights and his thoughts and how the Kansas State program is running, but also making sure to even help where he can facilitate us, getting access to the program, talking with athletes, getting chances to go cover the Wildcats and tell the stories of all their athletes and everything like that. So Gene Taylor is someone we are very, very appreciative of. I will never be able to not speak as highly as possible about Gene Taylor and just how great he is and how happy I am that he is the athletic director at K-State and how much he is really doing a great job stewarding that program and that athletic department for the Wildcats over there in Manhattan and all the great work he does. So without further ado, here is Gene Taylor's conversation earlier today with Jake and Dan from down in Big 12 Media Days.
We're back here at Big 12 Football Media Days here in Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium, where everybody is going to be trying to get to the exact spot that we are at currently right now. We are at the goal line of the end zone last year where Ty Zentner kicks it through and everybody goes crazy. And we're going to ask a guy who was just as nervous as the players and the coaching staff. He is the head Wildcat. He is the man in charge. He is the athletic director for the Kansas State Wildcats, Gene Taylor, joining us. And Gene, I'll ask you this. We're on the goal line where Eli Huggins and Daniel Green and everybody stuffs Kendre Miller.
Yep.
And you kick the field goal right here, right through those uprights that you're looking at. Flashbacks. Take me through kind of what you're feeling right now.
Well, it obviously, I feel interestingly a little different because I actually wasn't at the game. If you guys remember, I'm on the CFP selection committee. That's right. And I was sequestered in my hotel room watching it there. And I will tell you what, I would do it all over again and sit in my hotel room if we had a chance to come back. But I think it was harder for me to be in the room than because a lot of times when you're on the sideline, you can get a sense of the players' confidence and the coach's confidence, and you can hear them talking about, hey, we're going to go down and score. We're going to go down, and so it makes you feel you're still nervous. But I was way more nervous sitting in my hotel room. Interesting story. Right before late in the fourth quarter, the cleaning lady knocked on my door, and I asked her to come. I asked her to come back. And she said she didn't understand English. So I said, okay, come on in. Well, it was right about the time Max Dugan made that long run to get down to the goal line. And I lost my mind and said a few bad words. She came out of the back room scared to death. She thought I was a crazy man. But yeah, it was probably harder watching it on TV than being here just because you get a sense of the flow of the game a little bit better. But the other thing is, like, I wouldn't have seen – Ty Zentner coming out with a big smile on his face because the TV coverage, you see his, great job. You see his smile, you see him laughing when he comes out. That was the cool part about watching it on TV, but I would have much rather been there.
Well, when it comes to K-State athletics, pretty good year last year. Pretty good year if you're a Wildcat fan. The number two things for an AD, hire coaches, raise money, build buildings. Well, let's see, you hired the Big 12 championship coach, and we all think he's the best coach in the Big 12 right now. You hired a basketball coach who has taken the college basketball world by storm. You just built a new indoor facility. The Shamrock Zone is finished and looks absolutely beautiful. What else you got to do? Like right now, you've checked all the boxes here. So what's the next thing for Kansas State?
Well, wait till you see our new volleyball venue that we opened.
The video just came out the other day.
Yeah, it's really nice. We're very fortunate at K-State. We have donors that understand the importance of all of that. And it's long before I got here, they started investing in our facilities, and they've continued to invest. And now that we're competing for Big 12 championships, they understand the value of that. They also understand the value of keeping good coaches. And that's why we were able to extend Coach Klieman, because we went to our donors and said, hey, we need you to understand that if you want to keep giving, you got to step it up a little bit, not specifically for coach, but, so it's been able to, sell that vision and them understanding the importance of keeping good coaches, hiring good coaches, giving them the facilities to work in so they can be, and then ultimately their investment is really for the student athletes, for them to be able to have the facilities to work out which they do. It's pretty special, and I feel pretty fortunate to be here.
How difficult is it? It's probably been two difficult contract negotiations. One, you've known Chris Klieman for he's not just my football coach. He's a good friend of yours.
Right.
That's got to be kind of a difficult situation to be in. Same thing with Coach Tang. I know it's not happening right now, but I'm sure there's always ongoing talks. Maybe that's a little different. You go more with the agent. How do you handle those negotiations?
The good news is I wasn't a big agent guy when I several years ago. I was opposed to agents. I thought that wasn't something that coaches needed. As I've come where I am today, I think agents do make that negotiation. I didn't really talk to Chris at all. It was mainly his agent. We both kind of knew where we needed to get with Chris. And there were some little things that, if we get stuck on something, I'd say, hey, do you mind if I talk to Chris about this and let me explain why I want to do this? And he'd be like, yeah. but it really keeps your relationship with your coach cleaner. You don't have the battle of going, okay, what? And then once we get the financial figured out, we let the attorneys figure out the language and some of that stuff, so we don't have to get in. And, with Coach Tang, I mean, his agent's a great guy, and I've been fortunate that I've worked with agents that are really good people that understand. There are some agents out there that all they want to do is take full advantage or, basically only think about their coach and not the school. These agents understand who we are at K-State, and they want to do as best for their client, but they also understand where we are at K-State too.
Gene Taylor is the athletic director at Kansas State University, and he joins us here from Big 12 Football Media Days at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Gene, you have your football team win a Big 12 championship. Your basketball team goes to the Elite Eight, lights up Madison Square Garden, helps the rapper Lil Baby jump into the top 10 with a 2-year-old song because they're going viral with their pregame clips on Twitter. The way that I've tried to describe it, and I can't think of a better way to describe it than this, it feels like there's a cool factor for Kansas State athletics that is above where it has been. How do you see that reflected? And maybe that's not the word you would use to describe it, but how do you see this energy and this excitement reflected from your position as athletic director that your athletic department has generated here just in the last year?
Well, no, I think you're right. Whether it's a cool factor or just the energy has been phenomenal. And it certainly started with football. If you look at the way we beat Oklahoma and then Adrian and that game that he had, and then Will comes in and, you get into a Big 12 championship and you win it, that energy a lot of times just has a tendency to really vault all your other programs. And then you have a coach like Coach Tang come in, not really high expectations. You look at his energy, you look at who he is. I mean, that's the real person. He's no different whether he's coaching or whether he's in my office having a conversation. I mean, that energy drives, and he brings a lot of that. The students get behind it, and then our social media team has done a phenomenal job of capturing those moments, whether it's a Big 12 championship, whether it's a Elite Eight run, then they make it into a cool thing. So, yeah, I think it is, and I think it's a combination of the success, but then our staff's really taking advantage of that and turning it into the social media that is the cool factor.
Brett Yormark, commissioner of the Big 12. He's about a year in. He was kind of formally introduced at last year's Big 12 Media Days and took over a couple of months later. What are your impressions of him 1 year in? I will tell you, I didn't know much about him a year ago. As a matter of fact, I met him for the first time here on Media Day. He's come from a different background. All of the ADs were kind of pretty traditional, and we were kind of, our focus is like this. And Brett's come in and made us think outside the box. Threw some ideas out on the, kind of threw some stuff at the wall, and some of it is stuck and some of it are but the one thing I really appreciate about Brett is he knows what he doesn't know. And, for somebody like that, as much as he's accomplished, should have this massive ego. I mean, we all have egos. He's willing to say, okay, I don't really know college athletics. Okay, talk to me ADs, talk to me presidents. Let's take the example of the Big 12 Pro Day that we're going to have next April, right? He threw that out there. We're like, well, Coach, Brett, you can't do that. And what about our on-campus stuff? And we really pushed back. And the more he got into it, the more he talked about it, we're like, this might work out. Well, we've got a great opportunity, probably the only one in the country, that we're going to have our own conference NFL combine, basically. But it was his idea. Speaking of the cool factor, he's brought some cool factors to our basketball tournament, did some different things to our basketball tournament. So he really comes from an outside perspective. He is a promoter. And that's been fun to see. So I really like working with him. I was fortunate to be the chair of our ADs this year, so I got to work with him a lot closer. He's very energetic. You better be on your toes when you're around him. But I really do like him because he wants to his goal is to do everything he can with best for the conference. It's not really about Brett. It's what can we do best for this conference. And so far, we're winning right now. Kansas State Athletic Director Gene Taylor is our guest here from Big 12 Football Media Days in Arlington. I wanted to ask about the recent announcement that you will be seeking sponsorship for the name of Bramlage Coliseum. Talk to us about that process, your conversations with the Bramlage family about that, and what you'll be seeking in terms of a partner. Will it be something similar to some of the names that we see, family names on buildings involved with Kansas State athletics, or will this be potentially a corporate sponsorship?
Right now it's mainly corporate who they're looking at. We entered with a company it's called ICE, and they've done a nice job. They've approached us and said, hey, here's some things we've done. And would you ever consider it? And obviously the first one they asked was Bill Snyder Family Stadium. I said, nope, we're not going there. Never going there. But the Bramlage name, the Bramlage family, it's Fred Bramlage he did a lot. He was very much involved with basically getting that thing off the ground. So we knew we had to visit the family. Obviously, it's been a long time. There was a gift involved, but it wasn't a gift forever, right? It wasn't one of those kind of deals. So we brought the son in, and we had a long conversation with him, and he understood it. He understood that obviously in the world in which we're in, we need to find ways. But he said, can you be respectful and make sure the Bramlage name is somehow honored with whatever result? So he went back to the family. They've been great. We'll keep them in the loop. We're not going to do it unless the financials make sense. But their Bramlage is going to be recognized in some way, shape, or form, either in the name or somewhere in the building. It's still going to be a part of the name, and we'll see. Right now, they're just starting the process. Apparently, there is some interest from a couple of different corporate partners, but there's a lot to it. There's there's a lot of pieces that have to be worked out, but certainly we'll keep the Bramlage family in every step of the way.
When it comes to the Big 12, the TV deal got done. Boy, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Man, the number surprised a lot of people. With you combine the NCAA tournament, you combine the college football playoff, and you're looking at $50 million coming up. Can you express how Brett was able to, and he knows more people than maybe the rest of the ADs.
Yeah.
I mean, he was working for the Barclay. I mean, he's plugged in. He's a New York guy.
Yeah.
Do you think, that doesn't get done without Brett Yormark? And were you surprised at the number and how that all went down?
Yeah, a little bit. I wasn't sure. Obviously, when you go back a couple of years ago when Texas and Oklahoma announced, there was a lot of worry about what our value was going to be without those brands. And Bob Bowlesby even said, guys, I'm a little nervous about where our brand, where we're going to be able to go in and negotiate. And that was before we added the four. And so, I think Brett came in, and you're right. I think his connections in the media world from this time with the Nets and from the time, with his production with Jay-Z and all those guys, I think he's got major connections and a lot of respect at a high level from some of these people. So he was able to come in and sell a vision and really sit down and explain where he wanted to take this conference. And I think the vision of that was help, Fox and ESPN to say, okay, there's a value there. And he's done a great job. And you're right. I think closing that deal out was phenomenal. We've got the long form done, which is, everything's signed, sealed, delivered. The ink's dry now. The Big Ten still trying to hammer out their long form, and it takes a long time. Don't get me. It's not that it's not going to happen in the Big Ten, but he's done a lot. I mean, in 1 year, the guys, like I said, you better have your running shoes on when you're around him.
Someone asked about expansion, and he said, we've got a plan. I'm not going to talk about that plan, but we've got a plan. When it comes to that, you were part of, the chairman of the ADs. How much of that is talked about? Like, hey, the Pac-12 deal doesn't have a TV deal right now. I mean, the media, we're psychotic. And I understand that, especially the people who are like deep crazy, looking at Board of Regents meetings and that says, and they're sneaky too, we're going to talk about something special involving athletics. Well, I think they have a little fun with that as well. But I mean, we're talking like this is an ongoing thing right now. How often do you guys get together and discuss it?
Well, we meet pretty regularly. We meet in person different times of the year. Our last in person was in May at the Greenbrier out in West Virginia. We just got off a Zoom call this past week. And we do some in-depth conversations. And when we're in person, we have some in-depth conversations about the what ifs. We'll throw a lot of stuff out there. Brett will bring in some data. He and his staff will. They'll look at the various scenarios of certain teams and what if this happens and what if that happens. And we try to just give him a direction and say, okay, Brett, here's our priorities. If these things happen, this is where we want you to go first. And then after that happens, and maybe you should come back and let's talk about what the next steps are. So his like I said, his vision's pretty broad, and he's even, talked about it. You've probably read about it and seen it written in various scenarios, but obviously nothing's going to happen until we get ready to, if there's an actual break, he'll come back and say, okay, this is what's happening. We'll run it by us. And ultimately the presidents they're the final say. But we do talk quite a bit about it, and we get in sometimes in depth and sometimes it's very general. Just depends.
when it comes to the new schools, 4 schools coming in, how much say did you guys have in the schedule? Because the schedule's a big deal now. It's not a round robin. Boy, that was easy for you guys. Hey, let's play everybody. Yeah. Now it's all right. We're breaking down the schedule. All right. I absolutely, I'm a Big 8 guy. Right. I remember going to the Big 8 women's basketball tournament in Salina, Kansas at the Buy Center. I loved it. I'm a Big 8 guy. I'm furious that you're not playing Oklahoma. I cannot stand that because I want Oklahoma. I hate conference realignment. It sucks. Right. I hate the fact that Nebraska and K-State.
Tell us how you really feel.
I don't like it and because nostalgia, but you're not playing Oklahoma. Do you guys have a say in that? How do you make it balanced? Oh, well, they're playing so-and-so and we're not playing them. How do you do that?
Well, I tell you, we have a say to a point. We have scheduling philosophies, right? Mm-hmm. That haven't changed in terms of, how many road games, how many back-to-back road games, and, who do you play where. But we didn't have a say in who we were going to play or who we weren't going to play. Okay. We just knew that some of us weren't going to play both Texas and Oklahoma. We had traditional rivals. So we knew we were going to keep Iowa State and KU and, some others. Mm-hmm. We knew Oklahoma was going to keep Oklahoma and Texas, or Oklahoma State was going to keep Oklahoma and Texas. So we knew some of that going in, and then we just waited, and then we said, well, okay, we don't get to play Oklahoma, so we get to say we beat them the last 3 out of 4 times. So, okay, great. We own them in the last 4 games.
They take that L on the way.
Yeah, exactly. We do have some say, but and then it'll change again next year because we're going back to 12, right? And so that'll change. But we have a scheduling guru that has all this computer data that he looks in, and now he'll throw out scenarios, mm-hmm. and we'll look at those scenarios and go, well, that's probably not going to work. So he'll go back to the drawing board, and eventually the way our policy is once we see it for 24 hours, the only thing we can talk about is if there's something that mm-hmm. goes against our philosophy. We can't say, well, I want to play Oklahoma. We can't. We just go, well, okay, it matches our philosophies. That's who we're going to play, and then we go with it. So.
Alrighty, last two for the road here for you. When are you going to come up and play Firekeeper with Jared? When can I find a time so we can go do that?
When I get a heck of a lot better, because the last time I played with him, he freaking beat me by 20 strokes, and I can't even get in his head anymore. I don't know. Well, better be soon, because once he gets into football, and I would love to play Firekeeper. So we got to figure it out.
Alrighty, and lastly, where's the family vacation this year?
Well, we just went up to Minnesota for the 4th of July. This year, we're probably not going to do the family one like we have in the past, just because, again, Jared starts a lot earlier. Yep. My daughter Casey's got some things going on. So we got to Miami for the CFP meeting in August, and then we're going to tack on some days behind that in South Carolina and see a friend of ours and play some golf out there. So
South Carolina. All right. Kiowa Island. I'll expect the recap on that golf course. Gene, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks,
we appreciate
guys.
it.
Always good to talk to you. Appreciate it.
That is Kansas State Athletic Director Gene Taylor speaking down at Media Days with Jake LeBon and Dan Lucero earlier today. He's the best. Gene is such a good dude and is always so affable and easy to talk to, and he shoots you straight, which I really appreciate. Great dude. K-State could not have hired a better athletic director than him when he took the job 5 years ago now.
I think it was
4, 5,
close to the Klieman signing. That was 2019.
Yeah, it was after or before
so
they hired Klieman.
Probably 2018, I think, is when Gene, a year before.
Yeah, he's a stud, and really appreciate him taking the time to talk to us. And I know it's what you do at Media Day. You talk to the media, but he has always been so gracious, and to spend almost 20 minutes talking to the guys today, really do appreciate that from K-State and from Gene Taylor. Awesome stuff, too. I think he shoots you straight, and you get good info about what the program is dealing with and how the scheduling works. And, if you've seen the pictures of K-State's new volleyball arena, it's awesome.
Oh, it looks great.
And I probably don't need to qualify this, but I don't mean to take away, because we talked all the KU stuff yesterday. Now today is K-State Day. I get that. But it is, as someone who went to one of the schools, two people who went to one of the schools, KU and K-State, to see both programs, the full athletic departments are in a good spot with athletic directors who care, who are passionate, who know what they're doing, good football coaches, good basketball coaches. Thankfully, whether you like that this is part of college sports or not, donors that are willing to contribute to help improve facilities, help build new facilities, whatever it might be. It's awesome. And KU and K-State, I think, are in a really good place right now, a better place collectively than they've been in a long time. And I think that is extremely encouraging. And if you're K-State and Jerome Tang's your basketball coach and Chris Klieman's your football coach, and, go down beyond that as well, Pete Hughes and Jeff Mitty and all the coaches at the program, or of all the programs, and Gene Taylor's your AD, you got to feel pretty darn good. So appreciate Gene joining us today. We'll hear from Kobe Savage later this hour, and we'll hear from Chris Klieman coming up in the 5 o'clock hour today of 580 Sports Talk. Right now, though, we have to get to a commercial break. When we come on back, before we get to Kobe Savage, we've got today's What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, right here on 580 Sports Talk.
The hell?
What the hell?
We do have clarification, courtesy of Vance in the YouTube comments, and Vance, appreciate you looking this up for us. I could have Googled this and I didn't, so thank you. Gene Taylor took the job in 2017.
Okay.
So, been a pretty good stretch since then, I would say. I think that's pretty fair to say at this point. All right, it's time for today's What Is Wrong With You, brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, who cuts the metal you need to your specifications. That saves your time, your money, and your material. So never settle when it comes to metal at Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard. The meth Uber is our current winner for the week. The gentleman in Massachusetts who took an Uber to make a delivery of 25 pounds of meth to New Hampshire, Concord, New Hampshire. He was arrested because he was delivering that meth to an undercover cop, and he also took it across state lines. Can't do that. Definitely cannot do that. Fulton, you're up first.
Brendan, we are headed to the Pacific Northwest
All right.
for my story today. Seattle, specifically home of the 2023 MLB All-Star Game, by the way, where a man was arrested Sunday after a 911 call about an unresponsive person in a car, according to the Seattle Police Department.
Okay.
So a man passed out in a car. That's really unfortunate.
Yep.
At about 9 a.m. July 9th, officers responded to the report in the 400 block of Harvard Avenue East in Seattle. When officers arrived to check on the man, they found drug paraphernalia strewn about the inside of the car.
Not great.
Upon further investigation, officers found, get your list ready, folks, about 276.3 grams of methamphetamine, 624 grams of fentanyl, 145 grams of powdered fentanyl, 27.4 grams of cocaine, 24.3 grams of heroin, $13,083 in cash, a replica firearm, and drug paraphernalia instruments including pipes, scales, whole rolls of foil, and baggies of different sizes.
So he didn't have a real gun? He had a replica gun?
What is fun is, much like me, that's what stands out to me on this list, is the replica firearm. The 47-year-old man was arrested for possession of narcotics with intent to distribute, you think. He was booked in the King County Jail. Additional charges are pending.
For now, avoided the gun charge.
Maybe that's why it was a replica. I wanted to avoid the gun charge.
Okay, so don't do drugs. That's always a permanent public service announcement.
Yes, forever.
Meth, extremely bad. Cocaine, extremely bad. Heroin, extremely bad.
Fentanyl, horribly bad.
Yeah. Can we stop with fentanyl,
Yeah,
America?
can we knock that off?
This is a problem. I mean, do not do cocaine, do not do heroin, do not do meth. I mean, all obvious. The fentanyl problem getting really bad, and I don't mean to be all after school special on you guys, but please, we need to stop this. We got a problem in this country, and stop with the fentanyl. All you out there, please stop with. Not like all of you. I know you're not all trafficking.
You know what we're saying,
but you know what I mean.
Here's my thing. If you have all that in your car, like you got that on you, you cannot pass out in your car.
Well, he probably passed out from the drugs, right?
I mean, I would have to say so. If you have that much on you, that much stuff in general on you, you cannot be that loose with it.
Man, I got a handful of felonies in here, but I'm just dog tired. I'm just going to take a nap right here on the street.
I could potentially get all this back home, put it all, somewhere safe, and then enjoy, my cut of it myself in my own home. But you know what? I need that fix right here on the roadway. I might take a nap while we're here.
Yeah, I can't do that.
That's just moronic.
My story today, Fulton, is going to take us to Minneapolis, where authorities say a flight passenger with an outstanding warrant tried to evade arrest at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport by opening the plane's emergency door and running onto the airfield. This happened at about 11:15 p.m. on a parked Sun Country Airlines flight from Orlando. By the way, my wife was looking at flights to Minneapolis for an event later this year. Had not heard of Sun Country before. Not great reviews.
Okay.
Might have to throw that into the, if you fly Sun Country Air, you get what you deserve, kind of like with Spirit. Like that.
Fair enough.
That's an outstanding rule we've developed on what is wrong with you. Like, okay, it's a plane mishap, which pisses you off. But also, you
it's
flew
Spirit,
so
you know you're getting into.
If that's all you can afford, that's all you can afford. Just joking here. But anyway, parked flight. It had just arrived from Orlando. Police were at the gate ready to arrest a 44-year-old man from the town of New Brighton. While other passengers were leaving the plane, he thought, well, I don't want to get arrested. So he cracked open the emergency door over a wing, hopped out, and took off running. Airport employees found the man inside of an airline service food truck about 25 minutes later and notified the authorities. He was arrested and is now being held in Hennepin County, Minnesota jail. Police said the man was wanted for violating a restraining order and also had an active felony drug warrant in Wright County. Where do you think you're going to go?
Yeah, that's my first part of this. Where do you think you're going?
If you landed at a tiny airport, you might think, I can make a run for this and I can get away. I can really do it.
Yeah.
You can't, in all likelihood, but I can at least see it. Minneapolis-St. Paul is a large airport.
It is very
big. Huge international airport. You cannot do that there. That's going to be, I'm only 100 yards from the fence. Here I go. No, it's not going to happen. That's not going to work.
Here's the thing. If you knew they're waiting at the gate to arrest you, just what are you doing thinking that this is the way you're going to escape? The stupidity on display here is high. Proven by he was arrested 25 minutes later.
Yeah, it didn't get all that far.
Do you
think no one's going to look in the truck?
I just exit with everybody else and get lost in the crowd. Don't get on the plane in the first place. What are you doing?
This one wins for me today.
I'm with you 100%. He tried to run away going out the exit door of a plane wing and ran across an airfield.
Does it beat the meth Uber?
He took an Uber to deliver meth.
Yeah.
He took an Uber to deliver meth.
Committed a crime while in the process of committing another crime. You know how I feel about that.
Yep.
The meth Uber, it wins again in What Is Wrong With You. Brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Metal cut to order when you need it. which you can find on South Topeka Boulevard. We will hear from K-State defensive back Kobe Savage coming up next on 580 Sports Talk. K-State Day at Big 12 Football Media Days continues here on 580 Sports Talk. And now we will hear from one of the best defensive backs in the Big 12, let alone for Kansas State. That is Kobe Savage, another potential all Big 12 first teamer once we get to the end of this season. So let's hear what Kobe Savage had to say to Jake and Dan earlier today down in Arlington.
Welcome back to Big 12 Football Media Days here. Are talking all things Big 12 football with the K-State contingent today. And we're going to talk with one of the hard-hitting safeties of the Kansas State Wildcats, Kobe Savage, joining us here on Radio Row. And I'm going to ask this to every single K-State player. Do you have fond memories of this end zone? You know, just a couple months ago in December, you guys hoisting the Big 12 trophy here. Like, take me through your thoughts when you just walked back in here and you're like, man, I remember this thing was packed with purple, and it came down to the end. Like, does that bring back some good flashbacks?
Yeah, it really does, because at the time is right after my surgery, and I was hobbling in there on crutches. So, yeah, I was just in tears after we held that trophy up, and it does bring back a lot of close memories, fond memories, seeing all the purple, seeing all my guys finally do what we set out to accomplish to do.
Alrighty, we got some inside information here from one of your teammates. I'm not gonna tell you who it was, but I want to know. Were you able to sneak your dad in here? Did you get him in here?
No, but
come on.
I am sure without a doubt, if he really wanted to be in here, he would know somebody. He knows everybody in the state of Texas.
So is that kind of fun to have a dad that involved and be willing to do some fun stuff?
No, yeah, he's definitely a different dad. Even at a young age, he was always being cool about a lot of stuff, like you said, being young and fun. So, yeah, I feel like even though he's probably in his late 40s, he acts like he's 18 again.
All righty. You mentioned the surgery. Give us an update. How's Kobe Savage doing?
I'm great. I got cleared for contact. I'd say right now my leg is about 92% compared to my other one. So just getting that 8% going into fall camp, finishing out the summer, I feel like I'll be 100. I'll be completely fine before the game.
What's the toughest thing about it? What's the I've never thank goodness when I played, the only thing I got was about 3 concussions. That's about it. No knees, no ankles, no shoulders, no nothing. Not the case. So what's the toughest part? I've heard mentally it's the toughest part. I've heard it's painful. Rehab. It sucks. Like there's no other way to put it. Yeah. So take me through what it's like.
I feel like I have a pretty high pain tolerance, so I wasn't worried about the physical pain. It, like you said, it was mental, just not being out there, not being able to play the games with the team. But just getting my mind wrapped around that it's going to be a process. Everything I do is going to be a process. So yeah, I'd probably say mentally was the hardest.
So will you be full go for camp? Maybe that's not a bad thing because camp is not fun at all.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, oh, coach, no, man, I better sit this one out. Do you think it'll be full? Now there's not a lot of full contact in camp anymore, anyways. Yeah. But you think come game 1, everything's going to be ready to roll?
Oh yeah, I've been doing team 7-on-7 right now.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm a JUCO product. Yeah, I'm not going to stop. Yeah.
Hey, JUCO guys are built different, man.
No.
They've seen a different world than the guys who run up come in as a freshman, all that. You could probably pick out who's been through who's been through that life. That is a different beast.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're talking to Kobe Savage, defensive back for the Kansas State Wildcats, here from Big 12 Football Media Days at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Tell me a little bit about your junior college experience. While we're on the subject, how did that prepare you, make you a better football player, maybe make you take less for granted as a player? What was that experience like, and how did you benefit most from it?
Yeah, like you said, taking less for granted. Just going in, all the gear we got at Kansas State, I was just grateful for stuff like that. Like whether we got a backpack, I would record it, send it to all my friends back at JUCO just to show them what we got. But yeah, I take every rep so serious, take every run, every practice, because it could be my last, like whether I'm getting hurt or not. So me bringing that attention to detail and that focus and that passion for the game of football is what came from JUCO.
Being a returner on a defense with a lot of continuity means there are a lot of voices who are in that defensive huddle who know what it takes to succeed in the Big 12, know what it takes to win a championship. What's kind of your role in that defensive huddle? Are you more of a vocal leader on this group, or are you content to let some other guys be the vocal leaders and maybe let your play do the leading?
I feel like I'm definitely a vocal leader. Even last year, I'd be very vocal on the field. That's what I try to reiterate with my guys, just over-communicating everything, because if we're all wrong, then we're all right. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to be vocal to everybody, making sure we're all on the same page, yelling out tasks, quizzing guys on the sideline if it's practice or in the game, making sure they know what they got to do.
Who's the most vocal guy in that huddle? And I don't mean communicating plays and adjustments and things. I mean the dude who won't stop talking. Like who is the guy who's the motor mouth?
It's
in that?
You, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Man, he didn't want to say it at first. But he's like, I gotta say it's me.
It is me, because I'd say Deuce is pretty chill. He'll call something out when he needs to, but I feel like I'm nonstop game practice. I'm really talkative.
So you lose 2 starting defensive backs to the NFL in Julius Brands, Echo Boydo. So there's going to be some new faces at the cornerback spots.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about those guys, because it's a young group, but there's some real talent there. Jacob Parrish played in every game last year. There's some other guys, too, that are ready for this opportunity. Talk about those corners, what we're going to see from them this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a great battle, especially all the way through fall camp. I don't know who's going to be the starter. I know Jacob Parrish, like you said, is definitely going to play. Keenan Garber, he's definitely going to play. He's a great talent, super fast, running 22 miles per hour in man coverage. We got guys like Will Lee and Jordan Wright. So it's going to be really competitive battle at corner. I wouldn't be surprised if one started one game and the other one started the next. So I'm really excited to see that. It's a lot of talent, though.
Obviously, you get to go up against the number 1 offense every day in practice, and there are some faces missing from that offense from last year, most notably the All-American at running back Deuce Vaughn. But Treshaun Ward is the new guy in from Florida State. DJ Giddens is obviously back. Those 2 running backs, how productive, what are they going to bring to the table for Kansas State this year?
They're going to bring a lot. I feel like they complement each other very well. Treshaun is an exceptional runner. He reminds me a little bit of Deuce, being very swifty, not a power back, but a very elusive, kind of like he kind of runs like Le'Veon Bell a little bit. And DJ just being a power back, just strong and forceful, like an old school running back with his nose down, getting that first down. So they're going to complement each other a lot. And I see a very successful K-State running game.
We're talking with Kobe Savage here, Big 12 Football Media Days, safety for the K-State Wildcats. And you like to hit people, okay? That you do. How do you do it without the targeting aspect. That to me is I played wide receiver, so I don't feel sorry for any DB at all. Okay. But I do feel bad now because it's almost not even targeting. If the hit is too big, like you are not afraid to hit with your toes. I always say that. I can always tell someone if they're a good hitter is if they hit with their toes. And someone's like, how do you explain that? I go, you explode through your toes. And that's what you do. But there are times where that's a good hit, but it looks so bad live. You're like, oh my gosh. There were a couple times I call mouth covers where you're like, oh, that ain't good. And then but you need to be on the field, It's how do you handle that such a fine line of, even if it looks in slow-mo clean, man, it was so physical watching it live. How do you handle that?
I'd say the main thing is like the very first game, I probably should have got hit for targeting. Like that was definitely, maybe I might have put my head to his head, but I mean, it's just the adrenaline I got, and I'm pretty low to the ground. Like I'm not the tallest guy out there, so I'm shorter than most of them, so I can get away with a lot of it. But just getting a good angle on them and just trying.
But so much of it is just reaction. Like, how am I supposed to react? Like, what am
Yeah, I mean, it's just the luck of the coin. Like somebody like VJ being 6'3", it's probably a little harder for him. But us shorter guys like 5'11", 5'10" can get away with like maybe getting up in their chest with our helmet or something.
Does Coach Klieman and Klanderman do they give you anything like, hey, this is what you got to do? I mean, you can't practice it. You can't hit anybody in practice. Like it's geared towards the offense, especially the NFL.
Facts.
But for you, like, what coaching do you get from that?
Yeah, I mean, they just tell us to be smart, try to keep our face mask up so it doesn't look like we're trying to hit with the crown of our helmet. But yeah, like there's no really coaching point, like you said.
That's a tough thing to deal with. All right. What's something that you do here in the summertime? Like, we found out today that Will Howard, big golfer, loves golf, likes to fish. Apparently Avery Johnson can't catch any fish. We found that out. So Avery taking kind of a stray there. Feel bad for him. What are we doing in the summertime if we're Kobe Savage?
For sure. If it's not football, I'm fishing without a doubt.
Fishing.
Always fishing. I love to fish.
So who's got the boat? Like, you don't ever want to have the boat, but if you got a buddy who's got the boat, that's the important thing. So do you have a boat? Are we dock fishing? What are we doing?
Oh, no, we're just walking around the pond. We might get some mud boots on and go in there, but no, we're just walking around the pond.
So is that something that you've always done? Yeah. Like, who are you going with?
I usually go with my dad.
So, real simple, real easy. Okay. No other teammates going with you?
I haven't gone fishing any in Manhattan or Kansas. I probably need to. I probably need to go fishing out there, but nah, just me and my dad.
All right, we got a couple new teams here in the Big 12. All right, you got let's see. You guys are facing. I'm trying to remember here off the top of my head.
I think it's Houston and UCF.
So those are the two that
I think that's right. Live radio. We're double checking.
Yeah,
UCF and Houston come to Manhattan.
So if you are from Houston or Orlando and they call up Kobe Savage. Kobe, what should I be doing in Manhattan? What would you tell them to do if they come in Thursday night, Friday night? Give me what you'd be telling them to do.
Like just to come kick it with me?
Oh no, just like how would they experience Manhattan? Like where are you sending them to eat? What are you sending them to do?
Okay.
What are your tour guide Kobe here?
Okay, I'd say I'd probably take them to Moe's Barbecue out in Wamego for sure, and I'm gonna make them get the ribs or the catfish platter.
Okay,
and then after that, I'll probably I mean, man, there's not really nothing to do with it. I mean, that's really it. I might go to the old little bowling alley or something. That's something cool to do. They got I think a reptilian zoo I heard about. I'll probably show them around there, and that's really it. I mean, I don't know too much.
Not a whole lot?
No, there's not.
So what do you do in your downtime then? Like, are you a movie guy, binge-watching guy, series guy?
I'm not going to lie to you. I barely leave the facilities if it's my downtime, especially like going into the season because I want to have the best season I can, so I don't want any excuse for myself.
Well, there we go. So we can find you there at the Veneer Complex.
Fact.
So if I need to get a hold of Kobe Savage, just hang around. Eventually, you'll pop in and out of some room, right?
Yeah, you can ask any teammate I have. They always ask me why I'm still there, and I just tell them it's home. So,
all right, last thing I got. We've already talked to Will, so we're going to talk with Daniel Green and Cooper Beebe.
Okay.
Give us something that we need to. You have a chance to kind of roast your teammate here. So. Give me something that we need to ask. We were told from Will that Cooper sweats a lot. All right.
Yeah,
so
he's sweating right now.
So what is there something that we can ask your linebacker, Daniel Green?
you need to ask Deuce why he collects and why does he like chase dogs and bark at them. Like, because we live in the same apartment complex. You need to ask him why he gets on all fours and chases dogs and tries to bite them.
All righty. We will not reveal our source. You're safe with us, all right?
All right.
Kobe, we appreciate the time. Stay healthy, man. Looking forward to see you hitting a whole lot of people, and I'm really glad that I'm not playing with a guy like you in the secondary. We appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.
That is Kobe Savage, the all Big 12 preseason pick defensive back from Kansas State, joining Jake and Dan down at Big 12 Football Media Days. I had no idea. We heard Devin Neal was talking yesterday about fishing. We got Deuce Green and Kobe Savage today talking about fishing. I know you're a fishing guy.
Of course.
I'm the odd one out, apparently, not being a big fisherman.
Apparently.
That does it for the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. 1 hour left, which will include our chat with Chris Klieman. It's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. Sports Talk on this Thursday, July 13th. I'm Brendan Dorzinski. He is Fulton Caster. We are live with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, online at 580WIBW.com and on YouTube at Sports on 580 WIBW. That's the name of our YouTube channel. I didn't see this comment from our guy Vance at the end of the last hour when we were talking about fishing. And I made the comment that I am not into fishing, but we've now heard from Deuce Green and Kobe Savage today, as well as Devin Neal from KU yesterday, all guys who enjoy fishing. And I said that Fulton's a fishing guy, and I'm the only one here who's not. And Vance said, is Fulton really a fishing guy? Look, I know that we have agreed that we are beyond that because Fulton had a much more successful
I'm good, brother.
fishing excursion this year.
I'm good.
Funny as hell, though.
I'm not going to lie. Vance, good barb, buddy. Good barb. We're all good.
That was funny. But you caught some this, like you have that now. You have caught them.
I had a nice 15 and 3 days event while I was on vacation, so I'm good.
Do you cook them? Like, do you fillet them when you catch them?
So it depends on what we're planning on doing. We did not do that this year because we were mainly catching crappie, which they're crappie fish.
Yes. No,
they taste delicious, though. The problem is they're all really small, so you got to catch like a ton.
Yeah.
To get enough, and we just didn't want to plan on doing that. When we've been going up to Minnesota, we do plan a day that is a fish fry off all the pike we catch.
No, I guess
northern pike is delicious. Yeah. Great fish.
No, that is a good fish. Okay, I didn't know if you were just a catch and release or if it was.
Depends on the time. I'm more catch and release than more things, but occasionally we keep and cook. And I have filleted fish myself that I've caught myself because I'm one of like two people and all the people I fish with that is comfortable touching and doing all the stuff with the fish.
What Chiyoda? Fish fillet? Anyway, slightly different topic there. Anyway, yes, Fulton is I will concede, despite the fact that I had a full year of laughter at my guys' expense.
That was a great year-long joke.
Officially, yes, a fishing guy. I think we can say that for sure. Coming up here in this final hour of 580 Sports Talk, it's our last mix and match day, both for Mic'd Up earlier and 580 Sports Talk today. Fulton will be back with Jake tomorrow from noon to 3. Dan will be here with me from 3 until 6 on Mic'd Up and 580 Sports Talk, respectively. But in this final hour of the show today, we've got our headlines here in just a matter of moments. Plenty of big ones today. We'll also hear back to Chris Klieman's interview with Jake and Dan from earlier today. Awesome stuff from Chris Klieman. This K-State program is so easy to root for, I think. And I know there are going to be KU fans who say, no, they are not. And here's my laundry list why. I understand that. Just like when I said, I think it must have been this past season too, but this past season and especially the national championship team for KU, I know I said a ton basketball-wise. Like, this team is so easy to root for. So many likable guys, such an easy team to pull for. And I got pushback. Said, hey, not so fast. I would disagree with that. I know not everyone is going to feel that way, but in terms of the personality, in terms of the people who are in charge of it on, in an athletic department level, I think it's an easy K-State program to pull for. And I like Chris Klieman a lot. I think he's an awesome coach. I think he is a very likable coach. And I'm excited to get to hear that conversation again coming up in just about 20 minutes or so. And again, we'll take you into the end of the show with the final word a little bit later on. We'll get to your texts. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And you know how to find us on YouTube. Sports on 580 WIBW is the name of our channel. We are getting closer and closer to our next goal of 300 subscribers on our YouTube channel. If you have already subscribed, thank you so much. If you have not, well, we would love for you to go and do so. Again, Sports on 580 WIBW is the name of our YouTube channel. Go check it out, subscribe. You can find all of our stuff from Media Day, our NFL draft stuff, all of our Chiefs, KU, and K-State game recaps, Athlete of the Week interviews. They're all on our YouTube channel. I've already added a new subscriber today, so shout out to whoever out there subscribed. We really appreciate you for doing so. We're just 15 away from 300. We're going to do something fun on 580 Sports Talk once we get to number 300. So keep subscribing if you haven't already, and stay tuned. We'll do a tick giveaway or something fun once we hit that threshold. All right, we've got headlines to get to, so let's dive right on into our July 13th 580 Sports Talk headlines. And number one for me, a new contract for a New York Jet means we're getting much closer to a new contract for a Kansas City Chief. Quinnen Williams, the standout defensive tackle for the New York Jets, has agreed to a 4-year, $96 million contract extension that will keep him in New York for the foreseeable future. That averages out to $24 million per year overall, and $66 million is the total guarantee. So the way this contract is really going to work out, because you'll see if you go to Over the Cap or if they talk about it on TV, or maybe if you listen to national broadcasts, you are going to hear them talk about how he's getting $24 million a year over 4 years. In reality, the number that matters is the guarantee, $66 million. The total amount, honestly, that's for cap purposes and really just kind of a flex. So now Quinnen Williams can say he makes more than Dexter Lawrence and Jeffrey Simmons. That's essentially what this says. $66 million in guarantees. That's going to be paid out over the first 3 years of his contract. So you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about $22 million guaranteed each of the next 3 years. So that's how long for sure Quinnen Williams, who's just 25, is going to be with the New York Jets and the amount he will be with them for. Really good player. I would put him in the top 5 in defensive tackles in the NFL.
I would say so.
If we're talking true defensive tackles, so 4-3 even front defensive tackles. So I'll take noses out and I'll take my guy Kenny Clark out of the mix because I think he'd be in the discussion overall. But we're talking Aaron Donald, we're talking Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, Quinnen Williams, all guys who have been paid this year or last. I think that's your top 5. And that's an insane amount of talent at that position.
That's a lot of really
right
talented
now.
dudes at that spot.
And you can make an argument coming off of the worst year of Aaron Donald's career that the best of any of them is Chris Jones. I don't know that Chris Jones is going to get Aaron Donald's contract. Aaron Donald is a surefire first ballot unanimous Hall of Famer. There is no doubt about it. I don't know that that's Chris Jones. He definitely could get there. Absolutely could get there. He is going to get a little bit more than Quinnen Williams gets. And we've heard this reported for weeks now. Once the Quinnen Williams deal gets done, then Chris Jones will get his deal done. And if we're seeing the overall money is $24 million a year for 4 years, $66 million guaranteed, make it an even $100 million overall for 4 years. That's another $1 million a year. That's the total number. So we can flex and say, look at me, I got the higher average annual value than Quinnen Williams or Jeffrey Simmons or Dexter Lawrence, and make it $70 million guaranteed. So you throw an extra $1 million guaranteed in there for every year. Or I guess if you say it gets paid out in the first 3 years, like $1.3 million, $1.33 million a year for those 3 years. Boom! I have done the Chris Jones contract. Sign on the dotted line. We are good. Get to camp. We're all rock solid with the Chiefs. And I imagine that is effectively what this new contract will look like for Jones.
I assume it will be as well. I have been saying on Mic'd Up for really the past month or so that I've not been worried because my stance was they're just waiting on Quinnen Williams. I have no concern. This has nothing to do with, Chris's desire to be a Chief. I mean, he was on stage at the ESPYs and was rocking and hamming it up with the rest of his Chiefs teammates the other night. So I just, I've been waiting on this, and now we're here. And our good friend Matt Dierk, who will be on 580 Sports Talk tomorrow, coming up at the bottom of 3 o'clock hour, his over-under was 23 and a half hours is for Chris Jones to get his contract signed after the Quinnen Williams deal was announced. For what it's worth, for Matt, that would put it at 11:45 tomorrow morning, which I think would make all 4 members of the 580 Sports team pretty happy if that actually happened tomorrow. So Chris Jones, please actually do that. But no, seriously, just give him a little bit extra money because Chris Jones has openly said he's cool with being the second highest paid defensive tackle. That's it. Get a little bit extra money on top. 4 years, $100 million, $70 guaranteed. We're done. We're finished here. Chris Jones, there you go. Your second highest paid defensive tackle.
Yeah, I am now up to 99.5% sure this gets done.
I'm now just at this will get my true thought is it'll get done probably in the next few days. My big thought is this will just be done by the time training camp starts.
Yeah, well, we're all good.
We're all good. We're fine. Now it's just, we're literally at the stage of dotting a few I's and crossing a few T's.
No,
because they've provided the skeleton right here.
Yeah, no, sorry to cut you off. This is great. This is perfect for the Chiefs. And good for Quinnen Williams, too, because he's a hell of a player.
Really is. My first headline on our 580 Sports Talk headlines, Brendan, we have another media deal out, and no, it is not the Pac-12. The ACC is going to land a few of their games on the CW network. Funny enough, a network that the Pac-12 was originally rumored to be a part of, and the Pac-12 cannot get it done. Meanwhile, in a month worth of time, The ACC lands a deal that will land some of their matchups on the CW network. The network announced today that it has secured the exclusive broadcast rights to 50 games each season through 2026 and 2027. There are a lot of people taking pot shots at this because they hear games on the CW network, the host of such great shows as Riverdale and a bunch of other stuff that I really don't remember nor care to watch.
The Flash and
it's
reruns of Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, it's home to
One
all
Tree
that stuff.
Hill.
Yeah, great content.
Seventh Heaven, I think. Was that on?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I really
don't
don't
know if that one was.
The fact of the matter is, though, the CW over basic cable airwaves is in so many homes in the United States.
Not even, you can get it with basic cable, but you can get it with just an antenna. You don't even need cable.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, it is such an easily accessible network that you can make jokes and you can make jokes all they want. As long as this is truly probably not your primary way of delivering your product, you're in a really good spot. And the fact of the matter is, the ACC will still have their deal with ESPN and putting their games on ESPN's networks and all that stuff. This is just an extra way for them to get their games out there. I really like this for the ACC. I think this is a solid move. And I just find this very, very, very funny that in like a month's worth of time, the ACC got this worked out, whereas the Pac-12 still has nothing done.
So I think this is very smart business. I genuinely do. And we've got a question. Barbara asks, does anyone watch the CW? That comes in from YouTube. And Mark also brings up something I've said before that, put some games on the Turner Network. I think that'd be, or on the Turner Networks, TNT, TBS, they aired college football games way back in the day. There are still a lot of options here for the Pac-12. This should more entice them to want to be on the CW. I genuinely believe that this is a smart piece of business for the ACC. So this, if you are really into college football, and I don't mean like you're a huge fan of your teams, but if you're just like into the vibe of college football and like the minutia of it, you've probably heard of Raycom Sports and heard of some of the channels that they have put their games on in the Southeast and along the East Coast for many years. So these games have been part of the Raycom Sports package for many, many years for the ACC. I mean, this goes back decades. Last season, and really for the last 2 or 3 seasons, I don't remember how long Bally has been around, but these have actually been aired, these games in this package on Bally Sports. So you'll see the ACC on Bally Sports, and it's not necessarily every CW affiliate in the country, but at least the ones on the Eastern Seaboard. And just like we have problems here where not every cable or over-the-air or over-the-top TV provider gets Bally Sports, it was the same thing on the East Coast. So if you were a Virginia Tech fan and you were playing Duke and it was the Bally Sports game, but you had YouTube TV, sorry, you're not watching your Hokies this week, or your Blue Devils, for that example. That sucks. That is not a good place to be. This, on the other hand, if the CW wants to air it and all the local network affiliates want to air it, and I would imagine they will.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
Like, if you're the CW affiliate for Billings, Montana, and you are saying, yeah, you know what? We got some infomercials we can play. Like, yeah, we'll throw on an old episode of Dawson's Creek. Like, nah, we're good. You're an idiot. You are a bad program director for your TV station. No, you're going to put college football on.
Yeah.
America
it gets
Saturday in
eyeballs.
the fall, you're putting college football on, even if it's ACC schools. You can access this, again, with an antenna all over the country. Every cable provider, as far as I'm aware, has the CW because it is,
as far as I know,
similar to, not exactly the same. This is, of course, been argued about on Twitter, but it's similar to ABC, Fox, NBC, CBS, where you can get it with an antenna pretty much everywhere or on every cable package. This is smart business for the ACC. Would you rather be on a cable channel that tons of people can't access, that everyone hates, or have it be on a network that is available all over the country in pretty much every household?
You take that latter every time.
Duh.
Every time.
Duh.
And that's why this is such a good move for the ACC. And it's something I think that they're really going to be beneficial and really enjoy. They're going to broadcast 13 football games this season and will broadcast 28 men's basketball games and 9 women's basketball games every season, including, I believe here, December, January, and February will have men's basketball doubleheaders taking place every Saturday afternoon.
Awesome. No, that's smart. I will now watch more ACC football.
Yeah.
And,
if
and
I'm
we'll be more willing
bored
to-
on a weekend and KU's either done playing for the day or has not started playing yet or is off, I will probably just turn on the CW to watch the random ACC game that week because it's super easy to access.
You know, I'm a YouTube TV subscriber at this point. That's how my wife and I get our cable. And when you go to the home screen and it shows you, you know, things recommended for you on Saturdays, it's always college football games for us, obviously. And it'll say, here's the ESPN game, ESPN2, ESPNU, Fox. Oh, here's a game on the CW. I am going to watch that. Because it's easy to just flip over to it as opposed to, well, now I got to open Amazon Prime. Then I got to go navigate the Prime menu to find a game. And if I want to go check the score, I got to go leave. I'll just change the channel on YouTube TV or on Hulu Live or on Cox or Spectrum or whatever. Like, it's so much easier this way. And I think it's smart business. And now if you're the Pac-12, you're saying, well, shoot, maybe it would make sense to put more games on the CW, even if it's not the main package, even if it's the secondary level of games, because they're going to be a college football all-day station. I put this on Twitter earlier. Wouldn't it make at least some amount of sense? And I think for the network, it would make sense too. We're going to put a day game on the East Coast. So like ACC 11 a.m. kickoff. It's noon on the East Coast, but 11 a.m. kickoff, we'll have Virginia versus Syracuse or whatever. We'll do a midday show or maybe even just an ACC wrap-up show. You know, oh, here's the highlights from the game. Here's what's coming up later. And here's one big headline from college football. It's 15 minutes to half an hour. Boom, you're done with that broadcast. Then you have an afternoon or a night game for the Pac-12. You just do college football all day.
Yeah.
That's smart. And this isn't like the Live Golf Tour, which it's easy to make fun of them being on the CW because they are paying. They are dealing with all the ads and everything. The CW is just giving them the airtime. The Live has to pay for everything else. CW, you know, whatever. Sure, take the airtime. Take us. You know, we'll air that instead of another rerun of Seventh Heaven, which, by the way, was indeed on the CW.
Okay, good call.
The WB, then the CW. Anyway, I think this is good business for the ACC, and I think it would be good business for the Pac-12.
It would. It really would.
You want to be in more households. You want people to be able to watch your games. That should be the point. At least I would think that should certainly be the point. Next headline for me, let's go to college basketball. I've got two notes for you here, Fulton, from college basketball. One, this sucks, and I have made it very clear before on this program, on Twitter, just if I've talked to you in person about college basketball, I'm a big fan of Dickie V. I know he grates on people because the shtick got old 25 years ago. He's been around for forever. Now that he is 84 years old, it is sometimes he has a harder time following the games live as they're going on. His voice has gone a little bit. I get why people don't like him on TV. I love the fact that he loves college basketball more than anything. He is so passionate about it. He is so excitable, and I know, he just loves Duke. Okay, I don't know. That the older I get, the less stuff like that bothers me, to be honest with you. He loves it. He does so much good work for kids with cancer and has raised so much money for cancer research and to help people who are going through such a terrible thing. I love Dick Vitale, and it will be a very sad day for me and I think it will be a very sad day for college basketball when he leaves the sport. He announced this week, yesterday, in fact, that he has vocal cord cancer, and it is the third different primary cancer that he has been diagnosed with. He has beaten other forms in the past, which is great, and he put in a tweet, I was disappointed with the pathology report, but I plan on winning this battle like I did versus melanoma and lymphoma. He's got 6 months of radiation, or 6 weeks, of radiation. I read as well, he's got strict total voice rest. He's not going to be able to speak for 6 to 8 weeks. I don't care what you do for a living. That would be extremely difficult.
Oh, yeah. Incredibly hard.
I hope he stays healthy. I hope he gets through this. I hope he is able to call games this year. I know he really wants to. It'll be a very sad day for college basketball, and Dickie V can no longer do games. So best wishes go out to him. He is one of two, I believe, on-air ESPN originals still with the company. I believe. Guys who go all the way back to 1979 when ESPN launched. It's Dick Vitale and it's Chris Berman. Dick Vitale called the first ever college basketball game on ESPN and is still doing it in 2023.
That's impressive.
I hope for the best for Dickie V. I really do. 84 years old. And the other headline from college basketball, Fulton, that I wanted to touch on really quickly, this is from Jeff Borzello of ESPN, who reported this early this morning, put it on Twitter, in fact. No, not that early. It was 10 o'clock. From the NCAA, that the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Committee spent time talking about a possible expansion of the men's basketball championship tournament during its 3-day meeting this week, though expanding the 68-team field is not imminent. Dan Gavitt, who's the senior VP of basketball for the NCAA, said, quote, "The committee and staff will continue studying options and gathering feedback from various constituents. Whether the tournament expands or not remains to be seen." I understand that there were, at some point in time, people, when it was a 32-team tournament, that said 64, come on, the quality of team, that's just going to bring it all down. No one's going to want to watch that much. We have a sports-obsessed society in America.
Yeah, we
right?
do.
A March Madness-obsessed society.
Yeah, we do.
I love college basketball. I love the tournament. I love the conference tournaments, champ week, all that, the whole season. Love college basketball. I genuinely believe, and it's not just because, well, it's been this way forever, so we should keep it this way. I genuinely believe beyond a 64-team tournament, I know it's 68, but the bracket is only 64. Beyond that, you do start to lose something. Because if you want to keep the brackets completely even, guess what you end up with? 128 teams. 128 teams do not deserve to be in the postseason. They just do not.
Absolutely not.
And well, what about the NIT? And what about the CBI and the CIT? Those latter two tournaments you have to pay to get into. And the NIT, it's meaningful to some programs. And like North Carolina just said, no, we're not going to play in it. Like, it doesn't mean anything to us. I would like the tournament to stay at 68 teams. I think that's the best way to get the best product out of it. Before
you or I shuffle off this mortal coil, it's going to expand. Yeah, and it's going to be stupid and awful, and I'm going to hate it, because I have said this about playoffs in any sport, because I said this when college football playoff wants to expand and how it's going to expand. I've said this in regard to NCAA tournament expansion. I've said this in regard to any playoff at any level. Expansion is dumb, because the argument will never die. If you believe in expansion on the grounds of, well, we just want to make sure the deserving teams get it.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to make sure, someone doesn't get left out, or we should expand because X got left out or Y got left out. Guess what? That argument will never die as long as a team has to be left out.
It will always be there.
There are 353 college basketball programs?
For now, and they will be adding more soon, yeah.
Cool. We can have
360.
We have 362 teams make the NCAA tournament. Someone would still want to be 363 because their 63rd team got left out. Like, at some point, draw your line.
No, I agree.
At some point, draw your line.
I agree with you 100%. That does it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. Let's get to a quick break. We'll hear from Chris Klieman after this on 580 Sports Talk. Arguably the best coach in the Big 12 belongs to the Kansas State Wildcats. That is Chris Klieman. And the head Wildcats spoke to Jake Laban and Dan Lucero earlier today at Big 12 Football Media Days, day number 2 at Jerry World in Arlington, Texas. So let's hear what Chris Klieman had to say earlier on this afternoon.
We are talking now with the head Wildcat as he is sitting right on the goal line, right in the end zone, in which Eli Huggins, Daniel Green, and the rest of the D-line absolutely stymied Kendre Miller.
Don't forget Damon Alalio now.
Yeah, the Manhattan product. That's right. We saw him destroy a whole bunch of Topeka teams. But there's the uprights. So take me through. Does this bring back some fun memories? And I see you not even looking at the Zentner kick. The highlights are great on that. So give me some flashbacks here.
How could you not have great feelings coming back here? And what a great end to that Big 12 season. And you're right, to get the big stop. And I'm not quite in the end zone right here, so that's good.
You and Kendre Miller both.
Yeah. But no, what a great stop. You're right. Damian Alalio came in and played his 1 or 2 snaps of the Big 12 championship, but that he knew his role, and Eli and Daniel stuffed him. And then did anybody think Ty was not going to make that kick? I mean, when he was smiling on the sidelines, I knew he was excited. Colin and I were talking, okay, we got to get 1 first down, and ran a jet sweep to Deuce for about 9 and got a first down, put it in the middle. And that was a special moment. And people, when we came into that week, we had gotten beat by TCU, but our guys felt like we should have won that game down in Fort Worth, even though that they did a good job in the second half. But the other thing that was a huge thing for us is we started the season here in 2021 against Stanford, and so many of our guys had played in this stadium that for an 11 o'clock kick on Saturday, where you don't get to come in on Friday before and you get here and the game's rolling, that we don't have that awe factor. Our guys were like, okay, it's a stadium. We've been here before. Let's go to work.
That was calculated there by head coach Chris Klieman, I would imagine that.
Absolutely. Our guys, we talked about it. We didn't need to go through where the locker room was and how we're getting there. Our kids had done all that. And we talked about the advantages that we were going to have because we had been there before. Will, where are the play clocks? Oh, right. We know where they're right at. And we know how we're getting the field. And we knew the environment. We knew it was loud when we played Stanford here, even though there wasn't near as many people, but it was still loud. And I thought our guys took full advantage of it.
All righty. You have always said from the very beginning, this goes back to your North Dakota State days, you want a player-led program. You don't want to be leading this program. That's not your job. That's the players, and you kind of know that. And my whole family's NDSU people, so I followed that a lot. And the players coming back and doing all of that. Now you've been here. I can't believe it's been that long since 2019. So when it comes to how do you feel where you're at as a player-led program? You got Will Howard and Kobe Savage and hearing Will talk about being the leader and all of that kind of stuff. Are you pleased with where this culture is at?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with what our players have driven in that culture. We give them a lot of the tools, but then they have to lead and they have to be in that locker room when times are tough. And you're going to be successful in anything you do when you have people that have been in your program, your organization, your corporation for a number of years. And we have this year 9 6-year guys, and then we have Will's like a young 4th-year guy. Beebs is a 5th-year guy. We have so many kids that have been in our program 3, 4, and 5 years that they know the expectations. They know the standard that we're supposed to live up to. And that it's a lot easier as a coach when you know that the guys can drive that culture. And the strength coaches do a phenomenal job of that as well. But you're only going to be successful the more people are in your – I knew this was going to be tough when we got here, not because I followed Coach Snyder. I knew that was going to be a thing that I was going to always get talked about. But people – it takes a while to get to know people, know how we act, know how we as coaches are going to go through a win, a loss, as well as the players. And, the longer that guys are in the program, who did Will Howard learn from? Skylar Thompson. Who did Daniel Green learn from? Eli Sullivan. I mean, it just Trey Deshawn taught Eli Huggins. I mean, it just goes down the line, and that's what you got to have to be successful.
When it comes to this football team this year, you lost a lot of high-profile guys. I mean, hey, it's always good when you're losing first-round and second-round draft picks.
Yep.
I mean, when you're losing Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Julius Brents, and then you throw in Deuce Vaughn, who will go – I mean, you can put him in the Ring of Honor game one if you want. But you got a lot of the meat and potato guys back. Your O-line, linebackers, some secondary guys, couple Ben Sinnott, Will Howard's raving about his athleticism and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to how do you fill in the elite guys who are special, but man, we got a lot of guys back that maybe people don't realize.
Well, you're not going to replace Deuce Vaughn. You're not going to replace Felix. It's just really hard. You're not going to replace some of the things that Malik and Cade gave us, and Josh Hayes, and our bookend corners of Julius and Echo played so much football for us. But we had a lot of guys that learned from those guys, as well as like offensively. I think Colin Klein, I'm excited for him because last year is how are we going to get the ball to Deuce Vaughn? That's what we're going to do. Everybody knew 22 was getting the football. How are we getting it to him? Is he out of the backfield? Is he flexed out? Whatever it may be. Well, now we have a lot of guys that we need to be able to spread the football around, and people can't come in and say, well, we just got to stop Deuce and we have a chance. Well, is it going to be Trayshawn Ward? Is it going to be DJ Giddens? Is it going to be Ben Sinnott? Is it going to be Keegan Johnson? Is it going to be Phillip Brooks? Is it going to be RJ Garcia? And so on and so forth. We have a lot more people that I think we don't have to throw it all on one person.
Our guest is Chris Klieman, the head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats, joining us from Big 12 Football Media Days at AT&T Stadium in Arlington here on 580 WIBW. You mentioned Deuce Vaughn. There's no replacing him. He's one of the smallest players in program history, but some of the biggest shoes to fill. And I think of that line in Moneyball. You don't replace, but you can maybe recreate in the aggregate. You've got Trayshawn Ward coming in from Florida State, preseason newcomer of the year in the conference. DJ Giddens is back. What are we going to see from your running back group? You have a little bit more faces now, different faces. What are we going to see from those guys as they try and recreate that production and fit in this offense?
Well, and that's the $1 million question that I don't have the answer for, other than we have a lot of guys with a lot of skill sets. Trayshawn joined us in January, but didn't go through spring ball because he was nursing an injury. DJ Giddens had an injury at the end of the season, didn't go through spring ball. And so Brian Anderson has done a great job with the young players in that room, the Jordan Shippers, the James Whites, and Anthony Faria, some of the younger players. But I'm excited to see once we get to fall camp and he's got the full complement of everybody healthy, of what everybody's skill set is. And that's something that Will's got to learn. That's something that we have to learn of, is this guy more of an early down guy? Is this guy a better receiver out of the backfield? Who's better in protection? All the things that Deuce just did. And that's still a work in progress. But the fact that we have so much more depth there, and we can go to the third guy, the fourth guy. That's what excites us.
Last year, I really felt going into the season that your pass rush was underrated, even with a guy like Felix Anudike-Uzomah. And I think that kind of played out to be true. Felix wins Conference Defensive Player of the Year. And even as he departs, I feel like that group of pass rushers still a little bit underrated with Khalid Duke, with Brendan Mott, I thought was super last year. Nate Matlack. You've got some other guys maybe ready to step in as well. Tell us a little bit about that edge group, that pass rusher group, because it's so important to be able to get after the quarterback, get off the field on third downs. And I think, again, you come into this year with a pretty good stable of guys who can do that.
Absolutely. And Felix was a first-round pick, phenomenal talent that, everybody game planned for Felix, and he had a tremendous year and a tremendous career. But you're right. I think the depth that we have and some of the names that you mentioned are a year older, a year stronger, a year more experienced. And I look at Khalid Duke, who played linebacker for us, is going to go back to his normal position at defensive end. And arguably 2 years ago was our best pass rusher. And, he was the next coming of Wyatt Hubert. And Duke's going to be back to his normal spot. Nate Matlack was not healthy all last year. He got injured in the second game of the season, and it had a nagging injury all year long. So I'm excited to see what Nate's going to do. Nate's put on another 10 pounds. Brendan Mott's a kid that's very underrated. Cody Stufflebean's underrated. We have a lot of depth and a lot of people there that we're going to be able to rotate probably a little bit more through. And then our defensive tackles, we lose Eli, but Damian Alalio, we talked about. Uso is going to be a beast inside there. He's going to be an exceptional player. And so we're excited about the depth we have, not only up front, but in the linebackers as well.
You've got a tremendous quarterback room for the second straight year. Last year, Adrian Martinez came into the season, a transfer, but he was the guy and was such a leader for that group. And when Will Howard stepped in, when his number was called, he was unquestionably ready for that moment. Now this year, it's Will Howard's time, but behind him, a lot of really talented guys. Jake Rubley's been with the program. Avery Johnson, obviously the high-profile recruit from Mays High, is new to the program. With that group, how have you seen, number one, Will take ownership of that quarterback room, but number two, the talent in that room kind of elevate each other?
Yeah. Will had great leadership in it last year, even when Adrian was in there, because Will had been in the seat 1A when Skyler was playing, and then Skyler got hurt and he came into seat 1. So Will has always been a leader in that quarterback room. But now that he's the unquestioned quarterback and unquestioned leader, I see Jake Rubley feeling more and more comfortable being in the system for another year. Avery's an unbelievable talent. That's a young player. I'm glad he came in spring ball, put on 20 pounds. Going to be a terrific football player, but he just needs to learn under Will. Adrian Lara is a kid that's in our program. That's a really good quarterback as well. We brought another guy in, Jacob Knuth, that walked onto us from Minnesota. That's a good player. I mean, we have great depth and great health in that room and great leadership in that room, but it starts and ends with Colin Klein. Colin is the catalyst in that room, and the way that he manages that room, that there's no egos, the way that he conducts the room and has everybody have ownership in the room. And that's, I sit in there an awful lot, and it's fun to watch. And there's no doubt that Will Howard's a leader in that room, but it starts at the top with Colin.
We're talking with the head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats, Chris Klieman. You mentioned Colin Klein. He's that good. He's getting suited other places. How did that kind of go down with him, going to, Notre Dame ain't a little fish in the pond here.
Yeah.
How do you kind of handle that?
Well, Kansas State's not a little fish in the pond, and he and I talked about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas State is a name to be reckoned with. There was unfinished business with Colin. Colin just finished year one as the offensive coordinator, and I thought had a fabulous year in his first year of calling plays in a whole year. But I think Colin would even tell you, boy, he wishes he did something differently and learn from mistakes that maybe he felt he made. And I saw a guy with so much more confidence and so much more belief and swagger in the spring of he's got that staff back. Connor Riley does a tremendous job for us in the run game. Brian LePack and Brian Anderson's been a staple there. We have brought in Matthew Middleton as a wide receiver coach, and Matthew's really going to elevate our passing game, that he takes all that input as well. But I'm excited because we have all of our offensive linemen back and your quarterback back. It allows you to, facilitate everything a little bit quicker, from game plans to adding more things in the install stuff. And Colin's going to have a special year, and he's going to give Will the keys and let him roll too.
All righty. Philosophically, you mentioned Felix Anudike, who's on a great career. The photo that Connor Riley tweeted out, he looked like, a wide receiver, and now he looks at that. So I'm going to ask you this. As the coach of Kansas State, what's more important, evaluation of talent to get them there and to know if they can sign there? Because sometimes you go after, some guys are not going to come to Kansas State. Or is it development? You got to develop guys. What is more important?
It's both. It's an evaluation to see if a young man has maybe the growth potential as well as the work ethic. And then the one common denominator with a lot, you look at Cooper Beebe, you look at Will Howard, you look at anybody else, Tremaine Carroll, our strength coach. He's the best in the business. He and his staff do a phenomenal job of giving the guys the tools. The guys still got to do it, but our strength and conditioning program and sports science that we're doing with our guys, I believe, is off the charts. I believe we're on the cutting edge of doing things that I don't know if a lot of other programs are doing. And if they are, I don't know if they're doing it with the caliber. All you got to do is look at Felix Anudike.
Yeah, that was an incredible photo.
That picture at 209 pounds, to Felix leaving at 255 pounds, and to see there's so many stories like that. And it's a credit to the young man to committing himself, and it's a credit to Tremaine Carroll and his staff.
Alrighty, I have to know this. Do you allow music at practice?
Yeah, we do at times. Yep. I mean,
Okay.
it's not a full-blown concert all the time because you still got to coach.
Yep.
But you want that music
Okay.
somewhere, the distractions.
Who's in charge of the playlist?
Probably Al Serby, our equipment manager.
So
I'm not letting the players do it. I'm letting Al do it. They can give Al suggestions, and then Al will decide what we're going to play that day. But Al's been there a long time. Al needs a little bit of street cred. Let him have some fun, too.
So do you have any say? Do you know, hey, I need some.
I don't have any say. It's not a coach-led team. It's a player-led team. And so Al will say, what's the suggestions? And Monday's different than Tuesday. Tuesday's different from Wednesday. Wednesday's different from Thursday. So we're going to hit all genres and let everybody enjoy it.
Alrighty, the schedule. It's an unbalanced schedule now. How do you, as a coach, look at that? You know, I told this to Gene Taylor. I'm a Big 8 guy. I grew up with the Big 8. I love the Big 8. I am so mad that K-State's not playing Oklahoma. Yeah. One, because, well, you guys own Oklahoma, and that's a win. But two, I hate conference realignment. Yeah. It stinks. Schedule. How do you look at that just as a coach?
Yeah. Conference realignments going to continue to evolve. Mm-hmm. We just got to accept the fact that everybody's going to continue to evolve, and there's going to be more changes over the next several years. It's much harder for us in the fact of we've had a library on all these Big 12 teams for my 4 years. They've had a library on us. We had to do a lot more legwork on UCF and Houston because we actually play them this year. But then we took that library of what we had against Oklahoma and put it away. Now, do you put it away forever? Because we probably will never play them again unless it's in a Big 12 championship or a bowl game or something. Who knows? West Virginia, we don't know. You know, we've had a library on West Virginia, and Neil's had one on us. We put that away for a year. But it's strange. You know, you knew everybody had to play everybody. So this year is going to be interesting. It's going to be different for all of us, for sure.
Yeah. All righty, last thing I got for you. How many strokes did my good buddy Scott Wimpy give you up there at Firekeeper when you went and played?
Gosh, Wimpy's just giving me lessons when I go up there. He that's what he does for a living. He's going to hit the wedge or 8-iron in better than I am, but I don't want Wimpy calling our plays on 3rd and 8 either. So
does he give you some advice?
No, he gives me advice on my golf swing, which I hope he does. And if he gave me any advice on coaching, I wouldn't listen to it. And Scott knows that. But no, he's been a great friend, a great partner for me to run up there to Firekeeper and go play, and jumps in with us, and we have a lot of fun. So Scott's been a great friend to me.
Well, we appreciate the time. Hopefully you're back here again on December 2nd. Maybe not as exciting of a finish, and K-State gets back-to-back. Should be a lot of fun. Best of luck this upcoming year.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
That is Chris Klieman, head coach of the Big 12 champion Kansas State Wildcats. We're going to wrap up our thoughts from Big 12 Media Days coming up on the other side of this timeout here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Fulton. It's Brendan Fulton here with you on 580 Sports Talk. Final thoughts on everything we've heard from Big 12 football media days the last 48 hours.
One of the big things for me is just how excited this is made me for the college football season to kick off just in general. This is, for me, the real kickoff to waiting for the season to begin, because we're now about, roughly a month or so away from everything getting going, and we're getting to hear from the players and getting to see what they've been working on all summer. But overall, just it's always so impressive to see the different spots KU and K-State are in as programs right now. KU, trying to kind of be on the come up, trying to finish out this, rebuild and kind of putting themselves in this new era. Now K-State, where they're at, trying to defend a Big 12 title. It's just both of these teams, even in their different spots, their players all having such a great grasp and understanding of where they're at for these programs, and also making sure not to take for granted where they're at with their programs. Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal, so appreciative of just, getting KU back to where it's at, and knows what it means to even just being a 6-win team and getting to a bowl game, knowing how much that means to the fan base at KU and to the community, and understanding that. And then for the Wildcats on their side, them knowing it's not going to be easy trying to play this year. It's not going to be easy, being at the top, moving into more of that hunted versus hunter mindset. But being prepared to defend is just so refreshing to know that both of these schools and all the players of these programs are very acutely aware of where they're at as far as their programs are, and excited to put in the work to continue up the success of their programs.
My final thought, and it sort of pertains to what Jake was saying to both Gene Taylor and Chris Klieman about how much he has hated realignment and the fact that K-State doesn't play Oklahoma this year. And after this year, not even in the same conference anymore. I am excited for Houston, Cincinnati, BYU, and UCF. I think those are 4 very strong additions to the conference. I think those will be fun road games, fun teams to play in football and in men's and women's basketball. I think there is a lot to like about adding all of them. And I like that all of those programs are jacked to be a part of the Big 12. I love this new group. I do. Some of these schools, like Oklahoma, has been in the Big 8 conference or its precursors, the Big 7, the Big 6, the Missouri Valley Intercollegiate Athletic Association way, way back in the day. It has been in this conference since 1919.
Good Lord.
KU is the only technically quote-unquote founding member left from 1907, but Iowa State joined 1 year later. Kansas State joined in 1913, OU in 1919, and Oklahoma State off and on again until they joined for good in the late 50s. They're not going to play Oklahoma anymore. Like, that's over. Like, Kansas is never playing Oklahoma ever again.
No.
Maybe we get K-State, Oklahoma. I could see that happening, but we're never getting that again. Texas is different. Texas was in the Southwest Conference. They've been in the same conference as KU and K-State since 96, but didn't always play every year, and it's not as much history there. But it sucks to lose that amount of history. So I am grateful. And I think the last 2 days have really reinstilled this in me as I look toward these new programs. Very grateful that KU, K-State, and Iowa State are still together because those programs have been together for forever. And I'm grateful that the new schools are very appreciative of being there. Not that I'm like king of the finances of the conference. Like, I get why they're excited they're there because it's more prestige, it's more money, etc. But I'm glad that there is a lot of excitement around the Big 12. And it's not just the Oklahoma and Texas conference. You don't want to be here, get out. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. So it sucks that this is the end for a conference mate that has been around for over 100 years. But hopefully it means brighter days ahead for the rest of the conference. We've got to get to one final timeout on this mix and matched edition of 580 Sports Talk. We got the final word coming up next.
conclusion. You better wrap it up.
Time to wrap up 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Fulton, you're up first.
Big 12 Media Days is over. It was fun to get to hear from all the K-State and KU players. I'm very excited for the college football season to finally begin in just a little over a month, and I really hope KU and K-State can have some great seasons. Also, to tag on to that, it was real fun being back on 580 Sports Talk for 3 days.
Yeah, it's been a blast the last couple of days
awesome.
to get the two of us back together for a few full shows. Final word for me today. Amazingly, I'm not going to go with college football, but start your engines. The race to get Chris Jones's contract done is on. Quinnen Williams got his deal done. That was the last outside influence the Chiefs needed to wait on before they could get their star defensive tackle taken care of. Williams' deal is done. Chris Jones is next. Hopefully it's done within the next couple of days. He'll be ready for training camp, and then the quest to defend a Super Bowl title is on for the Kansas City Chiefs. Fulton, big shout out to you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us the last few days here on 580 Sports Talk, just like the good old days. Coming up tomorrow, everybody's going to be back on the regular shows. Fulton will be with Jake from noon to 3 on Mic'd Up. Dan will be back here with me on 580 Sports Talk. We'll recap his time down in Arlington at Big 12 Football Media Days. We'll talk to Matt Derrick about all things going on with the Chiefs and much more. That's coming up tomorrow from 3 to 6. For Fulton Caster, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. This is 580 Sports Talk.